Mm-mm-mm. Let me go ahead and put our beautiful faces up here so the people can see us and Monk's disembodied self.
My, I'm coming to you from the live stream.
Okay, all right, all right. Oh, pose. 3, 2, 1.
I'm posing. You just can't see me.
All right,
Put my
cool.
Buster sword on a fan because
We're good.
Yeah. Well, what we should do is we should have like the John Cena theme song playing every time I talk. You can't see me. Do 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 do.
I like it. We should do it.
Just for shits and giggles.
Making sure nothing incriminating is on the screen. Okay, cool. We're good to go.
Nothing incriminating? Well, then that's a good thing I'm not on screen then.
Yep, and I made sure to like hike up the cleavage because Twitter's on a ban fest right now.
Are they? God
Oh, I
damn.
know, right?
Well, that sucks.
I know. Apparently, cleavage is the target, which means I got to keep my eye on my channel because I almost always got cleavage.
Yeah, I sure as hell. Well, no, I can't say always, but I often do. All right, so, well, ladies, let's get started. So, as y'all know, I am Stitch and Stilettos Gamer, aka Stitch and Sis. I have my lady Rhea Alexanders, no underscore with me here. How are you, Rhea?
Hi, my loves. Hi.
Show off the shirt, girl. Show off the shirt. That's Seventh Heaven. We're feeling that Seventh Heaven looking at you in it, girl. All right.
Damn right.
Hey, Red Flare, how you doing? I got my Run and Tell That shirt from Hairspray. Huge Hairspray fan. And I saw it sitting in my floor. I didn't say that.
Not required.
Exactly.
What are you talking about?
So had to represent that. Oh, real quick, I want to show my friend Jen got me something for my birthday.
I love birthday presents.
And then we'll introduce Monk. She got me this. I'm so excited. It came in the mail, so I'll probably do a little video for that at some point. But very excited about that. All right, sorry. And then we have Tifa the Monk, of course. She has been with us since the first stream. So how are you doing today, Monk?
Oh, I'm doing fabulous. I'm very excited for this particular stream. So,
were you more excited last week when we like destroyed part of the fandom with our video, or you?
Oh, our now infamous stream, the one that will forever live in infamy. Actually, I surprisingly really enjoyed that one.
I did too.
It's actually kind of fun to tear into stuff,
It is, and the thing is, it was all constructive criticism, and
right.
I feel as if we did not assassinate anyone's character except for the assassination that was actually on page.
Yeah,
that was important.
And there was plenty of it. Whew, yeah, that was a rough ride.
It was weird because I actually felt like I was like a defense attorney, and I was actually defending Aerith for once. It was like crazy. I was like, I'm actually defending OG Aerith. This is nuts.
Yeah, it's a crazy day.
What's going on here?
Absolutely, you have 4 OG Aerith haters like, this is not fair to her at all. I don't like.
You see this right here? You see this memory card right here? I still have Aerith's death saved on this thing.
I don't have any memory cards from back. But okay, all right, that's hilarious though. Hey Sayana. All right, cool. So let's just jump right in because we've got 52 pages to cover. We're actually going to do a little something unorthodox. I'd really like to first. I'm going to go through giving a little bit of setup where we are after OG at this point when it comes to the story, particularly the story around Cloud and Tifa, because this is where. On the Way to a Smile is, honestly, after rereading it, I don't even know why it's as controversial as it is, to be perfectly honest with you. But it's one thing that aunties like to jump on and say, oh, they're not in a relationship, blah, blah. So I want to dispel that immediately. We're going to do that with showing some interviews, showing some things from the game, etc. Just briefly. And then what we're actually going to do is work our way backwards. We're going to talk sort of backwards. We're going to talk about Case of Lifestream White 1. That's Aerith's chapter. Then I think just go ahead and do Lifestream Black 1 because it's just same amount, same length. It'll take 10 minutes to do both, whatever. Yeah. And then we'll spend the bulk of our time talking about Case of Tifa, but we also will, of course, do Case of Denzel's. But Case of Denzel, even though it's first, will go last so that we can get the juicy stuff. And plus, it just wasn't as much to talk about. It's kind of like Monk made this analogy. It's like Aerith's stuff in Trace the Two Paths. There were a lot of like characters introduced at you.
A lot of names.
A lot of names. It wasn't necessarily all about, even though you're seeing their journey, there was just like a lot of filler information too. So, definitely want to do that last. So, all right. The book we're doing right now is On the Way to a Smile. And as I said, the first 52 pages. Now, just to dispel some things immediately, like I said about Cloud and Tifa's relationship at this point, we have some interviews here. Now, these two excerpts are from Lifestream.net, so there is some commentary happening here. But what I wanted to show, okay. Actually, let me start here. So these are in reunion files. I'm going to start with reunion files. So it's talking about how Tifa was a difficult character to create. Like Aerith, she also has a maternal side to her, but in a different sense. Now, what they're talking about, they're now going to be talking about her relationship to Cloud. So they say it's maternal, but in a different sense. Not only was she looking after Marlene and Denzel, but she also felt a certain maternal bond to Cloud, who is a big kid himself in some respects, which Nojima just reconfirmed. He said that Cloud mentally is 16. He's lost all those years. So that makes sense that Tifa, who did not lose those formative years, would have to step in. And you see that in some of Case of Tifa, things that Cloud doesn't necessarily know how to do, but she encourages him and she's proud of him when he catches on and stuff like that. So that's where that comes from. Yet despite this, she continues to work as manager of Seventh Heaven. Nomura says, there are many dimensions to Tifa's character. She's like a mother, a sweetheart, and a close ally in battle. Now, this is in the context of Cloud. Whose sweetheart is she? Is she a sweetheart to... I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Okay.
Well, she's my sweetheart.
Okay, sweetheart. Yes, of course. But a close ally in battle, like the person that she's with, who she would be an ally in battle with, is Cloud. The person who she, you know what I'm saying? The person who they just said she's like a mother to. So they're saying like a mother, as in like she, and you see this with, not saying they're husband and wife, but that dynamic, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, where they'll say my man is a big kid, or my man, like my husband is a big kid, and I feel like his mother sometimes. That's what they're getting at here. And then Nojima follows it up with, although there's a lot to Tifa's character, she's actually very much like any other woman who's been left behind by a man. Now, Antis will immediately say, "Oh, see, they're not together anymore." Blah blah. Well, yeah, but you're admitting that they were in a relationship, so you're self-owning when you do that. First off, 2, we will find out, of course, that the reason he leaves is due to the geostigma. It's not because he didn't want to be with Tifa anymore. So this relationship is romantic. And just to go a little bit further back, even beyond this, when they have that final... Oh, and here's another one, by the way. Apart from being a Cloud's childhood friend, she's also the woman who understands him all too well and devotedly supports the mentally weak side of him. So that's also sort of going into the motherly thing. Oh, you can't see it as well. Sorry. If there's something that's on screen you can't see as well, let me know, because I'm a little bit... There we go. All right.
A little cockeyed.
But let's just delve a tiny bit back into even childhood stuff and then OG stuff, talking about the relationships. Reunited with Tifa, the girl he's always liked, Cloud is ashamed he did not become a soldier. From those feelings, the feelings of being, that he, with Tifa, that he always liked, Cloud constructed an illusionary self-identity blended with stories he heard from his friend Zach and his own personal experience. He began to act the part. So before leaving the village, he boldly called out to Tifa, a girl he liked romantically, and declared he would become a soldier. I mean, these are not ambiguous quotes here. Okay. And then, let's see.
It's just very obvious.
It's very obvious.
They don't leave any room for quote unquote interpretation here. They're just flat out telling you.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
He was romantically interested in her, and he's always been romantically interested in her.
Absolutely. Cloud declared, "I'm going to become a soldier," to Tifa, a village girl he had started falling in love with, and also promised to protect her. These are very clear quotes, and we're not talking about from one source, This is Crisis Core Ultimania. This is 10th anniversary Ultimania. You got one from 20th anniversary Ultimania. Nojima's reunion file, so Nojima and Nomura stuff talking about it. This also from Crisis Core saying he knows when he asked her out to that water tower, it was a day spot. So if somebody I understand if somebody doesn't have the information, but if you see this information and you still say that over 25 years and a dozen sources at least that explicitly say there's a romantic relationship happening between them, regardless of the title, because the title is one thing, exactly. She's in love with him, he's in love with her. They spend the night together, playing DBZ or, Star Trek, whatever you think they playing all night.
Mario Kart. They're playing Mario Kart.
Mario Kart. Same people are going to say they were having sex. And I'm going to go with that interpretation. That is a romantic relationship, regardless of what the literal title is of it. Because a lot of people walking around having sex right now in pretty much in relationships, I can promise you, who aren't technically anything. So that is not evidence of anything. And they got way less going on between them than Cloud and Tifa. So, last thing I wanted to say is there's one thing that people always like to bring up. So, Nojima, now, to be fair, I don't know exactly where this like if he was responding to a question, I don't know the context, but this is what he said. He's talking about episode TV. He says, first off, there's a premise that things won't go well between Tifa and Cloud, and that even without Jill Stigma or Sephiroth, this might be the same. I don't really intend to go about my views on love or marriage or family. He laughs. After ACC, I guess Denzel and Marlene can help them work it out. Which is why I was mentioning case of Denzel. I believe it shows 4 years later. I will double check that as we get to it. And it says that they're all still together. Let's see. Maybe things would have gone well with Aerith, but I think there's a great burden from Aerith. So this is another thing, because this book is heavy LTD as far as discussions. We have to just address this stuff. So first off, if it's not going well, that means what is not going well? A romantic relationship. Okay. So again, more evidence. Even the stuff that they use as evidence against Cloudy isn't really evidence against Cloudy. He's saying the premise is. The same man also later says, I'm just running through the controversies right now. He said, Nojima says, inside I felt one thing was for sure. Cloud and Tifa would be together. Everybody would be living back home where they belonged. 2 years is too short to forget the past completely, but it's still a pretty long time. And 2 years older was a good age for Marlene to start talking a little. So basically saying 2 years seemed to be the right setup for a movie to occur. They didn't want Marlene to be too young. They didn't want, it was a Goldilocks thing. Just enough time had passed for it to make sense that this type of struggle was going on in the story. So, they are in a relationship. Okay. I'm not entertaining that. Y'all, whoever wants to entertain that amongst yourselves. No question based on all I just read to you. Not to mention, I didn't even get to him thinking she's the mother of his kids, and them separating former allies and Tifa, who's an important woman to him and also part of his family. These are not friendly quotes. Okay, they're together. Now, got that out the way. And then one more thing. Yeah, so talking about why part of Cloud's depression here, a large part of it. Nomura saying he still found a peaceful life, and that made him scared. He lost it all already, and he could lose it all again. So keep all this context in mind as we go through here. Now, let's go ahead and did you ladies have anything to say about that before I?
No, I just think that a lot of the time is people like to bastardize a lot of these bits of information, especially considering the fact that we do have an LTD to kind of cater to by that point in the story. Mm-hmm. Now, in current incarnations, yes, the LTD is being smothered with a pillow, but we still have to acknowledge that back then, LTDs, not just in Final Fantasy, and fandom at large, was still a moneymaker, was still a way to garner attention, or at least to believe so. Yeah. So I understand why there's some ambiguity in separate instances. But once you look at everything, And a lot of us, we're ravenous for context. We're ravenous.
Mm-hmm.
Once you look at everything, it's hard to be. It's ambiguous. It's ambiguous. It's like
it's not. Yeah, it really is not. Hold on. I always say no fan. Okay. All right.
Yeah, and you know, and I'll throw on to that exactly what you guys are saying. You have to take the 35,000-foot view. If you look at a one tiny scene in a vacuum, you can really butcher the story. But you have to look at everything in context. You have to look at how things end up, how they started. You have to understand the reasons behind certain decisions that were made, and the reasoning behind the different struggles. And like I said, you just have to look at everything, and it becomes very clear what the story itself was about. And we have plenty of context to show that Cloud and Tifa's problems are considered the conflict that needs to be resolved. And so what is the resolution to it? They heal, and he goes back home. That is what we're working towards.
What we see in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's right there in the movie. I mean, yes, this stuff helps, but the fact is, there's some sort of conflict. They have that big hurrah. He forgives himself. He asks for forgiveness from her and Eric. Like the air is cleared with everybody, and he takes his happy ass back home. That is the conclusion of the movie. Okay.
Exactly.
It is.
And he is still happy and still living a peaceful life long after the events of Advent Children.
Absolutely.
You see it a year later in Dirge Service, and you see it 2 years later with Denzel, and it's just everything is fine once that last conflict is resolved.
And you see it in Reminiscence, of course, which is a little
in Reminiscence. That the only purpose of that scene is to show that he is now happy, and he's in a healthier place, and he's taking phone calls from all his friends and stuff, and then he's like, you know what, Tifa, close up the bar, I want to spend time with you. And it's like, what more do you need to see?
Absolutely. Let me read comments real quick, and then we'll get right into Lifestream White. Sorry. Too many Lifestream many things. I'm losing it. Okay.
It's hard to keep track of them all.
Let's see. Looking forward to another book club discussion. Hey, Mesa. Red Flare, I'm sorry, but AC makes it too obvious they are or something. I'm not sure what you refer to, but yes. You're both pretty. Thank you. Let's see, curls is so pink. Okay, yes, everybody loves hair. Love that. Saying Cloud left because he hates Tifa is just blatant ignorance. Yeah, so I'm not gonna deal with the gaslighting on this one, and I think in general we should just stop dealing with the gaslighting, especially after I'm rereading this. I'm like, people are way overblowing what is actually in this content. So, I love the Wolf Girl. Hey, how you doing? All right, so I'm gonna read Lifestream White. If you're confused, sometimes it's called, so when we say Case of Tifa, I believe that's the way the Japanese translation is. They actually call them episodes in the English. So it's episode Tifa. So if I say episode Tifa or Case of Case of Tifa, it's the same chapter. Now, so starting off with page 52 here. This is probably the most controversial part of the book, and that's why I want to start here. So, Lifestream White, White 1. She was an ancient. Thus, she was able to retain her own selfhood even within the flow of the Lifestream. When she wished it, she could dissolve that self and become part of the planet forever. But it was too soon for that. Just a little longer, she thought. She could feel an aberration, yes, and the coursing Lifestream, an implacable will that refused to merge with the planet. She knew it was the man who had killed her, a man whose fine, handsome features had hidden the vicious spirit and now plotted and schemed within the Lifestream. She sensed he was trying to exert his power in the corporal world. She wanted to stop him, but how? It was too dangerous to come into contact with him. She stayed far away from his cruel consciousness. That made it harder to discern his intentions, But the one time she did stray dangerously close, she learned something important. His memories of Cloud formed the core of his will. Cloud was her friend, more than a friend, for she had loved him. He was a symbol of everything she held dear. She would protect him. So this is just going over, Eric's in the live stream. She's chilling. She's trying to decide when she wants to join the stream of the life, and basically dissolve, find peace, and her consciousness goes away. I assume is what the point. Reminds me of Greek mythology, as I said. Once you truly join the river Styx, and you're
and then you absolve yourself of your memories, and then you put yourself back in the cycle of life.
Exactly, and that's what the live stream basically. So of course the controversial part for some being Cloud was her friend, more than a friend, for she loved him. For she had loved him, first off. He was a symbol of everything she held dear. She would protect him. Now, in the Japanese, she says, it said coabito. Now, coabito is generally seen as a two-word, it's like seen as lover. Here's the problem for Clarence. And I'm going to bring back up my screen. And I'm only saying them because they're the only ones that believe this. That's what I'm saying. I'm not calling them my friend for another reason. We're talking about the LTD. So, yes, it does mean sweetheart or lover. Another definition of it, however, it says coabito could also be someone who secretly longs for, whereas the other one, they must be friends in real life. Okay, so the reason the longing for makes sense in the context, and again, this is why I put all this context. We have established Cloud and Tifa are in love with each other, no question. The problem with the idea that Clarice keeps saying is that Cloud and Eric are lovers. That's proof that Cloud and Eric are lovers. Is to be lovers, there are actions that have to be taken for that to occur. Whether that be verbal, mutual "I love yous," whether that be some sort of physical act. For instance, we know in the Ultimania said over and over. So with Cloud and Tifa, Cloud had regained himself thanks to Tifa, confirms his feelings with her, feelings that cannot be conveyed with words. They're saying he's conveying his feelings, his romantic feelings to her, and there's multiple quotes of this. They reveal their feelings for each other in their final hours, and ... I have this Ultimania, and there's a picture of Tifa looking onto the distance. She just said her line, and then it fades to black. It's very clear what's going on. Okay, fateful night the two share an event near the time of the end of the battle, or whatever, blah blah blah, where Cloud and Tifa stay at the airship highway together, with this possibly being the end. An evening overcome with a flood of feelings becomes something special. And there's several quotes that lead on to the same thing. Even one where Yuffie's like, Cloud, why are you acting so happy today? And then it says that she, even though she didn't know it, Cloud had just spent the night with Tifa. Many quotes are saying the same thing. Like, they conveyed mutual feelings. So whether you think, there's a difference between whether you think it was explicit enough or not for you on camera, and whether it happened, period. If the devs keep saying it happened over and over again, it happened. It doesn't matter if they didn't do it the way you would have wanted them to do it. They did it. Okay, so so that's what's important. Now, the difference is you do not have a single quote ever of of Cloud and Aerith exchanging mutual feelings. Thus, whether again a physical act, whether some sort of verbal exchange, nothing like that ever happens. Nothing's ever depicted like that. Nothing's ever said like that. So they literally cannot be lovers. That is the problem. So this is where context and common sense has to come into play. You can't just take a quote out of context. And then, and I'll let you ladies say something right after this. Let me read one more passage. I'm actually going to skip ahead to Lifestream White 3. And this proves what I'm saying. She tried to think of some way to warn Cloud. As she pondered the problem, all the other things she couldn't tell him rose anew in her spirit, vivid as life. There was almost so much she wanted to tell him, but she had never known the way to say or how. Now, what is it she always wanted to tell him? if they've already exchanged feelings, they're already lovers. What does she want to tell him about the weather? What does she want to tell him about what are these all these things she never got to tell him that she needed him to know even after death? Her shoe size when she was 7. I mean, of course she's talking about romantic feelings she had for him. She's probably talking about Zach too, because she never told him the truth about Zach ever. Even in death, she never told him about Zach. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, they are not lovers. Period. That's just common sense, people. You could disagree, agree, but all right. Go ahead, Rhea.
But yeah, in addition to that, it's just we also have an instance of Aerith not really knowing why Cloud has the traits that she finds so desirable. She doesn't know that he's sharing memories with with Zach right now. But on an entirely separate note, if you look at Lifestream White, it's almost like Nojima looked at Maiden, was like, nah, and rewrote it.
Yes.
So that it was, one, a little bit more cohesive, because it's not the 21 pages, it's now shrunk down to a more bite-sized understanding, because we don't need superfluous information. We understand that because Aerith has control of her consciousness, she is able to have these thoughts and concerns, and she is able to still be traumatized. And this is honestly something that we were looking for when we did the previous book club.
Yes.
She has every right to be traumatized. She was murdered. And I feel as if it was a little bit more cohesive, and we have a better understanding of what she's doing in the live stream. We know why she was a little bit slow to act, because she's scared.
Absolutely.
She's not without these mortal emotions, because she only just died. She's still going to experience these tethers to the living. Yes.
That makes sense. Yeah.
She might still have romantic inclinations to Cloud. We are, as people, capable of loving more than one person, even if that love is different. Hell, even if love is kind of the same. But she never got the chance to act on it, not in the way that the subset of a subset of a subset would have liked. Yeah. Especially considering that Nojima paints the picture that Aerith and Tifa were friends. She's not going to act on Cloud as their relationship progresses,
especially dead. So especially
that. Like, again, we are not haunting people. Aerith is not that person.
All right, and Monk, you have anything about Lifestream White?
I do. Just give me like 3 minutes.
Okay, go ahead. Oh, you need time to. Okay. You said come back. Cool. Okay. We'll let her say her last piece. What we're going to go over after she says what she wants to about Lifestream White. We're then going to delve into Case of Tifa. So, everybody's excited for that. And I actually I think I made a discovery here, and I'll go over on camera with everybody, because just a little neat Easter egg. But it also will go into, my summary of how her chapter goes. So we got about, there's so much in here, but it's only about 17-ish pages, which I found interesting. The within the fandom and within the cult part of the fandom specifically, like Case of Tifa is taking on such a life of its own that it almost feels like 50 pages in and of itself. But then you actually look at it, it's like, no, this, they really have distorted what goes on in this chapter.
They really did, and I kind of feel as if that, again, I'm going to use the reference of Maiden, taking one line or one section and making that the entire work. It's disingenuous, because it's just like, we have build up to it. We have an understanding, hey, they're happy, they're building a life, and then something happens, and depression strikes. Yeah. This is a very natural occurrence. I mean, when you're looking at the average relationship, when one of them goes into depression, sometimes the other party in the relationship doesn't know what happened. So, and it's kind of robbing us of that buildup. It's kind of denying that somebody was genuinely happy. Yeah. Because it's like, you're not depressed 24/7, and even if you are in a deep depression, that's not going to be the forefront. You're still going to have instances of, I'm happy, or hell, I'm euphoric because I'm now living with my dream girl in my dream home, in my dream life that I didn't even think I deserved.
Yeah.
Which
and Cloud, and that's the survivor's guilt, and that's yeah, and Cloud, probably part of it was, I mean, he says in this, and we'll get to it, but he says he thinks Tifa's stronger than than what she becomes for a minute. He probably thinks she's stronger than he is, and she is mentally.
A lot of them actually say that.
Yeah,
there are multiple instances within the compilation where Barrett has said it, Sid has said it, where they're all saying that you're stronger than us. A lot of people hold Tifa in high regard, which I think further feeds into how she's got to be the patient one. She's got to be the understanding, because she has this weight put on her shoulders, this responsibility, because just like, you're our Rock of Gibraltar. You're immovable. You're amazing. You are our home. Which is why Barrett leaves Marlene with her, which is why Cloud allows Tifa to see the weakest, darkest parts of himself, that he usually has like walls as thick as the Great Wall of China, trying to keep him from the rest of the world, protecting that squishy, soft center that we all know he has. Like this cute little Pomeranian that's all bark and not really a lot of bite.
Particularly not real Cloud, yeah. Monk, you back? Monk! Okay. So... Yeah, so...
Sorry, I was fighting with the mute button.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead and say what you had to say about Lifestream White.
Okay. So, here's the thing about... To go off of what Bria was saying, because we're so in sync sometimes, you guys already say kind of what I have in my mind, but, just having Maiden fresh in my mind.
You're a little muffled.
It's such a breath of fresh air, because it's...
Wait. You're a little muffled.
It's just going to feel more like her, because this is Nojima.
Smith has come through.
And this is his story, so of course it's going to feel a lot more in sync with canon, and because it is canon.
Yeah, monk.
Go into Eric's
she not hear us?
I don't think so.
It feels so much more human in this version, and not so like some weird like proxy, but rather just her own character. And I did like that, as Rhea pointed out, that she does still have that fearfulness, and she is still traumatized, because, I mean, she didn't just die, she died violently. I mean, it's getting fewer...
I mean, I can mostly hear, but, yeah.
The world. And, of course, that's going to be such a traumatic event for her. And to go into her feelings surrounding Cloud, she never did get any sort of like resolution to her. Her feelings for Cloud are still very much unresolved. And even though she is with Zach again, I still think that she herself has some unanswered things to kind of work out in her own mind. And I think that in Advent Children, I think it's very telling that instead of going to Cloud like Maiden Aerith would have, and going, "Oh, I love you, Cloud, I want to be you, we're robbed of a life together," instead she just tells Cloud, "You know what, you have a family." She doesn't, of course, say this, but it's inferred that. She tells him, "You need to forgive yourself. You came for me, that was all that was important. Don't blame yourself, you need to move on with your life."
Yeah.
And that, to me, answers pretty much any sort of question as to what the nature of her relationship with Cloud is. She is very much like this almost like spiritual mother type figure. She has embraced that, where she is, and she's not only looking after Cloud, she's looking after all of her friends.
Yeah.
That's what that line in Advent Children is, when she says, she's looking at the little water droplet inside of the Highwind, and she says, "You were there all along." She's not just looking after Cloud, she's looking after all of her friends.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Cloud is at the forefront because, not only was she met all of these other people through Cloud, but yeah, it just,
this era seems to be a lot more focused on what is important, and what's important is getting Cloud back to the team and helping him move on with his life.
Yep, I agree. Can you hear us now, Monk?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you were muffled for a lot of that. Like we could understand some of it, but you were muffled for a lot of it. I could try to clean it up afterwards, but yeah, I was trying to tell you. Are you there? Okay. All right. Yeah, I mostly got to just what you're saying. Basically, she was saying. Basically, Mark was saying. Oh, go ahead.
Did you guys even hear what I said?
It was very muffled.
Oh, right.
We did get the gist of it, though.
We got the gist, but.
Okay, you know what? Just tell me where I left off, because
the entire thing. The entire thing.
Oh my god.
We made out some of it. So go ahead and say it one more time, and then.
Okay. Jesus Christ. This is the problem I always have. All right, let me. Okay. So what I was saying was that Aerith is very much, her relationship is very much a spiritual position. Like, she's like a spiritual mother type figure at this point. And as I was saying, she has unresolved feelings with Cloud, because I mean she was just very suddenly taken out of the picture. Mm-hmm. So she never really got the chance to have any sort of resolution with Cloud. And so, you know, even though she has, you know, gotten back with Zach, obviously, she's still, you know, I mean, it's still, she's allowed to have some feelings of confusion still about, and still, you know, maybe even feel some conflicting emotions when it comes to Cloud, but you don't see her actively pursuing him anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think it's very telling that, you know, instead of like Maiden's portrayal of Aerith, where she's just so desperate to get back to Cloud because she just wants to tell him that she loves him, blah 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 blah. Instead, what you see what happens in Advent Children, when she is able to communicate with Cloud again, those words never come out of her mouth, because I think at that point she realizes that's not her purpose, and that's not what she needs to do anymore. Like, that phase of her life is over. Mm-hmm. And she sees that Cloud has built a life with Tifa and a family with her, and he needs to let go of the past, not blame himself for things that weren't his fault, and let go of his guilt and allow himself to be happy.
Yeah.
And that is what her main focus is in Advent Children. And she's like accepted this role as this spiritual guardian over him, rather than being some kind of you know, romantic partner with him.
Yeah. Agreed.
And that's why when he does die in Advent Children, he's there in the live stream, she doesn't go, "Oh goody, Cloud's here, I get to be with him finally." No, she's like, hey Zach, this one's kind of big. I think he's a little too old to adopt. We need to send him back home to his wife. And Zach's like, "Oh, tough break, friend. Doesn't look like you have a place here. We're sending you back."
Aerith the Cloudy shipper, but you know, I mean, she's been shipping Cloudy since 2005, but they convinced otherwise, so whatever.
Exactly. So any unanswered questions about the nature of her relationship with Cloud is answered right there. That tells you exactly that their relationship, whatever feelings she had for Cloud, those feelings have morphed.
Yeah. Regardless
of if you think that. Obviously, she did have feelings of attraction, and she obviously pursued Cloud in OG. That's undeniable. But those feelings were so tied up in Zach, and that's, I think, a big reason why she has a lot of these unresolved feelings after death, because she never really did get the chance to meet the real Cloud. So, of course, those kind of issues are still going to kind of plague her a little bit after the fact. Like that she's allowed to have those feelings of conflict and stuff. It actually makes her a more interesting character, that she does have these questions of, you know, what exactly happens there, you know?
You know what, and I just thought about this. She sees what an obsession with the living can do to a person in the live stream too. She just said
Absolutely.
that line. I had never thought about it till then, but she said she stayed away from his cruel consciousness. That made it harder to discern his intentions. But the one time she did stray dangerously close, she learned something important. His memories of Cloud formed the core of his will. It turned him into something unrecognizable, like his obsession with Cloud. He's still, after death, after he's been beaten twice, it's almost like if he doesn't have Cloud, he's nobody. Almost like that's how he feels or something. I don't know. It's hard to explain because I literally just had the thought. But yeah,
that's the truth though.
She does not want to end up like that. Just some. And you see this in regular ghost stories as well. Like if you don't let go of the past and the living and things like that, you just are damned to, your soul damned to loom around for however long until you let stuff go. And yeah, she also doesn't want to become that either. So I'm sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh no, it's just that I feel as if that's exactly what happened within the compilation, with how how Sephiroth is, I'm your memory, or I'm your everything, and as long as you remember me, I'll always exist. He is so intrinsically tied to Cloud, which I think is ultimately where Sephikura as a ship comes from. Because remember, Cloud as a 16-year-old killed Sephiroth. There's very few that's more intimate than being stabbed. there was some illusions there.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
And he made that basically his everything. Like Sephiroth's whole identity. You get instances of him just like chiseling away at himself so that he can remain, and Cloud is literally his glue that's holding him together. He doesn't want to exist without Cloud, which is why ultimately I don't think Sephiroth would actually kill Cloud. Because
I don't think so.
Unless he can somehow merge with Cloud's being when they return to the planet, he has no interest in killing Cloud.
He'll find a way. He'll find a way.
Well,
but
he has this obsession with making Cloud his plaything, his puppet again. He wants to be able to. He's like a cat with a mouse. He likes to toy with his food.
You know what? Let's go ahead and talk about Lifestream Black, since we're talking about their relationship anyway. It's a nice segue, since it's just half a page as well. And that's another thing. She also doesn't want to become obsessed with the person who took her life either, because that's just as dangerous of a. So in a sense, like that. Like, obviously the Nibelheim Trinity is actually a thing, but there is some nature that is a trinity between Cloud, Aerith, and Sephiroth too. I don't think there's any reason to deny it. It's just not romantic, and then like they're not the sole main characters of the game and nothing else matters type trinity. But there is some nature between the three of them as the three people tied to the live stream and tied to Genova, whether through fate or whether through you see what I'm saying. There is some truth to that, and some truth to the but in general there's definitely a struggle going on between Sephiroth and Aerith, and they both are I won't say obsessed with Cloud. I wouldn't call Aerith obsessed with Cloud, but there's a tie-in to Cloud, let me put it that way. There's a dual thing happening between Sephiroth and Aerith, and for different reasons they have an attachment to Cloud. So there's like a battle going on there. Plus with the planet, of course, the planet being the main thing.
Yeah, so let's just put it this way. During Samhain and during like Halloween and all of those, like where life is like close to end, where life and death are very close, he needs to like put all the barriers around, because he's got like come hither on his ass for the
Ooh, Cloud got too many dead people looking for his ass when he done. Ooh, I'm like, dang, can I rest? Cloud like, I done saved the planet 29 times. I'm 80. My wife gone. I got 19 grandkids. Like, I just want to be in peace, Hey, Charles. Oh. If he doesn't, he going right after. Yeah, he can't live on this planet without her.
I think, exactly. Like, I always see that Cloud and Tifa would probably
die of a broken heart.
Die at very die of a broken heart. As soon as one goes, the other one's going very quickly after that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is in no way us romanticizing it. It's just the way that they're written. They very much would suffer from fading syndrome. Or heartbreak syndrome. It has multiple names where your body, the shock of losing a loved one, which there was a shooting not that long ago.
I literally was about to say that. It was the Uvalde shooting.
Yeah, where the teacher's husband, he literally died.
Yeah, 2 days after she died. Yeah. I mean,
it's just one of those things where, especially with the type of relationship that Cloud and Tifa have, where they're so at that point, because I'm convinced they'll die of old age. Okay? Yeah, that's just my head.
That's me. That's my head canon. Absolutely.
And they're gonna live a long, happy life together. But at that point, you become so used to that other person being a part of your life that once they're gone, it's like your life almost loses meaning. And again, we're not romanticizing it. It's just being real.
It's a real phenomenon. It's absolutely a real phenomenon.
It's a real phenomenon. I mean, that's what happens with a lot of old couples. When the wife dies or the husband dies, the spouse
very close.
Yeah, depending on how. Yeah, they don't live for too much longer after that.
Yeah,
because so much of their life is different, and it's like that little bright light that they had in their life, it just gets snuffed out.
Yeah,
it's really sad.
Sorry, we went into headcanon. Yeah, we went to headcanatories and blah blah blah. But
But again, I'm saying, let me put this out there again. We are not romanticizing this. We do not believe that Cloud is.
I don't even like to think of them in old age. I don't even like to think about it. I'm just like, I like to live. Yeah,
because the subset of a subset of a subset will take this sound bite.
I don't
say that and call us hypocrites. And it's just like,
no, there's a one thing saying that two people who live together for 60, 70, 80 years can't live without the other, and their life just goes. That's one thing they're saying. Some person he knew 3 weeks, he just is going to live the next 80 years miserable and alone with, because he can't handle. Exactly. I mean, that is a big difference. Okay.
It's way different. It's way different when
I know the reasonable person knows, but I'm just putting that out there.
If you get that type of obsessed with, let me just put a PSA out there. If you get that type of obsessed with anybody in 3 weeks to where you want to K-word yourself, or you are willing to spend literally the rest of your life alone, you 21 years old, and you will never love again because you lost somebody who you knew less than a month, you need to seek professional help. I'm being dead serious. That is not something to romanticize. Okay, that ain't something to write, romanticize, nothing. Okay. Facts. All right. Back to the story. Back to the text. So, Lifestream Black. He could feel the Lifestream incessantly trying to erode his spirit, his experiences, thoughts, emotions, and memories. If he gave himself over to the pull of the current, everything he was would be subsumed. His existence dissolved into the great spirit energy that circled through the planet. He would not let that happen. The planet was there to be ruled. To give it his own energy was to concede defeat. He felt the surge in the life stream, a great upheaval, a sign he knew another defeat. When the life stream burst out above ground, it meant Cloud's victory was more secure than ever. Cloud had twice sent him into the life stream, and he would not allow it to happen again. Got news for you. Sorry. If he could only cling to the core of his consciousness, he could keep himself a part of the abyss and stay free of the planet and its insatiable appetite. He had made this decision. Cloud would become the nucleus. He yearned to tell Cloud this. I have not forgotten you. You are still in my mind. You do not know this yet, but soon you will. So basically what we've already just said is that yeah, absolutely. And he has made Cloud his tether to keeping what little of him existing. Very obsessed.
So, like, he's the kind of stalker that would hang outside the window, watching as the lights turn on and off. And you're like, I watch too much Criminal Minds, as you can tell. You go outside in the yard and you see the tree and there's like cigarette butts there because somebody's been standing there for hours watching you. That's
yeah.
Like, you go to his apartment, there's pictures of Cloud all over the fucking place.
Mm-mm-mm.
Just, Sephiroth he is very much the product of Lucrezia and Hojo.
Jeez. Never stood a chance. Never stood a chance.
He did not stand a single chance.
Oh, Lord.
To quote Garcia, poor baby.
Poor baby. But yeah, so... All right, I don't know, Mark, if you have anything, but otherwise we're going to dive right into the case of Tifa, which is what everybody, of course, wants to talk about, so...
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Sephiroth is the X from hell, Jesus Christ.
Literally.
Yep. We originally said this about Aerith in the Maiden. No.
But the real X from hell is definitely Sephiroth, okay?
Yep. Poor Cloud, man. You know what? He needs to find a way to be immortal like Vincent, because if he crosses over, he's gonna be running.
He's got more peace of life than he'll ever have in death if he's still sitting around in the live stream. He better find some way to get him to dissolve. I can tell you that. All right, so Case of Tifa. The beginning is basically just a scene where it seems to be a couple days after Cloud has left. So what happens is the book starts here. You could think of it. So Advent Children, the time between Cloud leaving and the kids all right it's less than 2 weeks. So this is a couple days after Cloud has left, probably a couple days before Advent Children begins. And so she's sitting alone, thinking to herself, she's having these interactions with Marlene and Denzel, who they're showing is sick at the time. Marlene's like trying to comfort her, but it's not really working. She keeps thinking about, do I have to be all alone here? So she calls Marlene for company, and Marlene's like, you shouldn't have to be alone like this and stuff like that. Asks about Cloud. She says she doesn't know where he is. At first she thought the worst when he didn't come back home. But then when she started, because people know her and they see Cloud, she probably was asking around about Cloud. They were like, oh, well, I saw him drive by, blah, blah. She realized that he's out there. He's still working. He still has his phone, but she doesn't know why he won't come back home. Now, this is where the excellent conversation, and I want to say it here so we have context. And actually, it would have been great to say before I started all this. There was a conversation about what point of view this book is in. This book is in third party limited. Now what that means, and in fact I'll just get a definition out here so we don't even have to speculate. Let's see. Third party.
Or third person limited.
Yeah, third person, sorry. I would say party.
It's the same death.
Same death. So third person limited point of view, on the other hand, is a method of storytelling in which the narrator, being Nojima, the narrator being Tifa, knows only the thoughts and feelings of a single character, while the other characters are presented only externally. So I mean, I guess technically it would be Nojima. So what they're saying is in the novel, for instance, with Lifestream White, Nojima is only going to give us information through Aerith's lens. This is the same thing that happened in Maiden, by the way. Same thing that happened for the most part. I mean, really for the most part in a lot of this stuff. So with Case of Tifa, it's not that anything she's thinking and everything she's thinking is actually the case. She doesn't know why Cloud left. So then she's speculating in her mind, was that last smile that he flashed me before? This is what she says right here, actually. And I want to read that. Why did he go away? And this is Marlene asking. As if she knew. Maybe he had problems with his life, with her. But then she could remember that last smile Cloud flashed at her. It had a kindness to it, as if to say everything will be all right. Or did she misread it? Did she ever know what he was thinking? Mm-hmm. So Tifa's fully in her doubt at this point. And then what the story is going to do is reverse back in time and tell us everything that happened basically from OG up until this point. So this is what I mean by third person limited. Nojima's giving us information that Tifa knows and thoughts that she's having. So this is part of the reason why, I'll call them aunties. I almost used another word that starts with A. You try to use this novel against her because she doesn't know since Cloud hasn't told her, you know, I'm scared of losing everything that I have, and I'm the past is starting to dredge up on me, and and this and that, and I'm feeling bad about Zach, I'm feeling bad about Eric, and all that. She doesn't know what's going on in his head about this because he's closed himself off. There's in fact a quote in the Ultimania saying Tifa, the only person he opened his heart up to, he's even closer to her now.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on, but we're going to see the progression of that. And actually it seems to take a dip in their relationship, and then it starts to look like it's going back up, and that's part of what her shock is when she says that last smile that he gave me, and we'll see it at the end. You know, there was a kindness to him, blah, blah. He seemed happy, but then he left. So she doesn't know what to think about it because they were on the mend. They were doing better. All right. So that's where the novel opens up. And I actually caught this today. I wanted to. Oh, well, I don't know if y'all had thoughts about that part before
I actually do.
Okay.
And I know I brought it up previously, either through private voice chats or in Messenger. I believe that it's kind of important to note that this is where we see one of Tifa's flaws, where she has this almost extreme separation anxiety, where she is afraid of being alone, that's why you see that she's always doing something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we'll ever experience a moment where Tifa is just standing still, because she has to keep doing something. I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do that. And then when she's faced with being alone, she panics. So it further feeds into the separation anxiety that a lot of us have touched on. And again, we all view Tifa as being able to carry the weight of the world. She's a strong, powerful woman. Hear me roar. But she herself sometimes forgets how strong she truly is.
Or tired of being strong.
I know. She probably is exhausted. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had myself a cry a couple days ago because I am exhausted having to take care of my home, taking care of my business, taking care of my family. It's exhausting. Mm-hmm. It's soul crushing in some instances. So we have a moment where this is her weakness, but she's not really afforded the opportunity to showcase this. Mm-hmm. So I think it's important that we do witness this moment of where she's down. I mean, yes, we have in the context of the remake that Cloud, when he is of sound mind, is going to be Tifa's rock.
And he is here, and that's part of the problem. Now she's faced again with like, who's going to be my rock when I'm not there? Because then Cloud gets in his depression, and then he leaves, and now she's back where she was, where she doesn't have that emotional support.
Exactly. And I kind of feel as if that people tend to overlook that and the importance of that. Because we again, a lot of us, especially as Tifa Elite, like we do look at Tifa with rose-colored glasses, and sometimes we fail to remember that she's a human being without special augmentation. Mm-hmm. She's struggling. She's grinding it out, and I feel as if that this is important to showcase, especially within the context of this, because up until this point, she is larger than life. Mm-hmm. She's still human, obviously, but she is larger than life. She is. This is my goal. I'm working to be like this woman here.
Yeah, she is I'm every woman, as I said before. She's an I'm every woman. And we're going to get to see a lot more of this in Medill, and then I'll let you go, Monk. We're going to see a lot more of this in Medill this time around. Not Medill, after they're separated. They make several points in the Ultimanias, which I found striking, about how Tifa inside, and Cloud brings this out in her, is this ultra feminine, almost sort of got like sort of a submissive nature, not in a bad way, but like she wants that rock to cling on because she hasn't had it in so long. Probably the last man definitely is her dad that she could rely on, and she's had to go so long without that emotional support. And she probably didn't fully get it from her dad either. I mean, we're talking about dad. She's never gotten it from a romantic partner, somebody who she can fully just lean her weight onto. And they're going to be there, like Cloud is going to be there for her, for instance, in part of this novel. So she feels the weight of that when she's separated from Cloud, which is part of why other than the fact she obviously loves him, but that's part of her. She doesn't need him, but she wants him, and she craves that emotional support that she gets from him. And so when you see Remake, when you see how she just because Barrett tried to be there for her as a friend, but she wouldn't let it go.
Exactly. He also kind of missed the mark.
Yeah, but only Cloud did she fall apart like that, just like completely fall apart in his arms. And she didn't know what his response would be. She was hoping, but he returned what she needed. And that's why the Ultimania says he felt a sense of satisfaction being able to not be her physical hero. He had saved her multiple times before that.
Yeah.
But being her emotional hero, her emotional support is what he was proud of in that resolution scene.
Exactly, because the thing is, at the end of the day, Tifa can save herself, no problem. She's done it how many times? He just wants to be there to help. Because it's kind of like, I'm proving myself to you that I am a prospective partner. I'm showing you that I'm a prospective mate. Yeah. And it's almost carnal, almost animalistic, how that kind of mindset of, I need to prove to you that I am your equal, that I can do this for you. When in actuality, this is the first time where he is genuinely, this is something that she needed. Not something she wanted. She needed.
He wants to be indisposable to her.
Yeah.
He wants deep down, he wants her to need him as much as he needs her.
Yeah. Exactly. And unfortunately, and this is kind of why I feel as if Case of Tifa is a little bit, yes, it's sad that they're out of sync, but I feel as if it's important to showcase that when they are in sync, they're damn near indestructible. They're unstoppable. Because yes, she does need him, except not in the way he needs her to need him.
Yeah.
And since they're out of sync, he's not seeing that, oh, she does need me, just not what I can do for her. Because
neither one of them open their mouths and say it. I mean, that's mainly Cloudy's problem. Cloudy's the only problem between Cloudy that is between them is that they have a hard time opening up in general. They open up to each other more than they open up to other people. But that's relative. You see what I'm saying? Like that, they open up a lot more to each other than they do other people. But when they feel like they're being a burden, they close themselves off. They don't want to be a burden to the other person. They don't want to lose, and they feel like they're going to lose the other person if they start to become a burden.
Yeah, they don't want to be each other's ball and chain, dragging you to the bottom of the ocean.
But they're just hyping this up in their minds because all it takes is one conversation in a bedroom, and it's like, oh shit, my life is fine. Like let me go save our kids the way.
And it's just like, stop it.
Yes, and by the way, I will say just personal. And I'm not trying to get anybody else in trouble, so y'all just leave. Okay, being ultra pushy about it also is not the answer. And so, as somebody who identifies with Aerith when it comes to personality, okay, the answer to somebody like that also isn't to be in their face constantly trying to drag them out. Oh, come on, just tell me what's going on. Blah, blah. That's also is not helpful. Okay, like the barrier between Cloud and Tifa, because mostly what they do for each other is good. It's just when they get into this spot in their heads where they get stuck, they do need to push the other a little bit. You know, she doesn't do much in that bedroom. I mean, no, she does much in the. Okay, let me not be a Cloudy. Let me not be a Cloudy. All right. Okay.
And she's a jockey riding away.
Hey, all right. I didn't say anything. All right.
I did.
Cloudy's a horny. We know, but all right. And specifically in Avid Children in the bedroom as they're speaking to one another with Rude and Reno there, so we know that this is going on. She just says like, "Hey, dude, we all got we all got our struggles. We can all be here for each other. Let's fight together." Yeah. Let us in. Just talking about him and her and the kids. Let us in. Let us help you. And Cloud responds to that to Marlene and says, y'all have always been there when I needed you. Now I need to return, because they realize he's dropped the ball. So,
yeah. And sometimes that happens. I mean, no relationship is going to be perfect. And I like how human and real this relationship is. Because the only thing that's getting in the way of their relationship is the fear of losing each other.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it feeds into why Cloud left. It feeds into why Tifa feels the way she does. And it takes the kids being in trouble to be like, no mas.
And before that, Arlene had to be like, hey, bitch, we need to go find Cloud. You need to stop being stubborn about this, okay?
I lost one daddy. Where's my other daddy? Okay,
yeah.
One is busy.
I want to see Cloud. I was like, dang, she hollered. She was hollering at him and her and him. Cloud, you never listen to us. I was like, yeah. She got some sassiness.
Marlene was our self-insert. She was like, okay, you know what? We need to fix this relationship. Okay, Tifa, you are not leaving this church until we find Cloud. Okay? Yeah. And then she tells, and I love it, you know, where Tifa's like, okay, well, we'll give him a lecture, and Marlene is like, yeah, we're gonna yell at Cloud. Why did he leave?
Exactly, but here's the thing, and it's a complete non sequitur, but I kind of feel it's an important note because it was brought up previously. I don't remember if it was last book club or the one beforehand, where Cloud needed the slap on the ass to get himself out of his funk, and it was Tifa and Barrett. I know I'd do it too. But remember, it was Tifa and Barrett that kind of gave him the incentive to move on after Aaron had left the party in OG. But it's the same thing. It's Tifa and Barrett by proxy of Marlene, because Marlene, even though she's a cute, teeny, tiny little Moogle, I love her. She is very much Barrett's daughter. She is his proxy to look after them. She's literally being their guardian as Barrett's proxy. So technically, Barrett,
it's a two-way street, yeah, because he says she says I'll look out for him. They could be my parents for now. I'll look out for him. Exactly. He's like, yeah, you look out for him. And then and Nojima does make some statements saying, well, Marlene and Denzel are going to help them figure things out.
Exactly. And I kind of feel as if that's an important point. And remember in the movie how Marlene mimics Barrett, and I'm like, I see Barrett right out your mouth. I already know when she's older, she's probably going to be his freaking mini-me. She's going to look like Tifa, but have the mouth of Barrett.
Yes. How you going to watch after your family if you can't watch after yourself?
Right. We're telling him who's boss.
Absolutely. So,
she's invited to the cookout.
Absolutely. So, let's see.
I have some things to say on this subject. I was waiting for my
go ahead.
Moment. I was just ready to gloss over me. What's going on here?
Go ahead.
Anyway, so yeah, and you know, kind of backtracking a little bit to what Rhea said about how, you know, sometimes we as Tifa fans we tend to, you know, focus on her strength and stuff, but I've heard it put this way before, you know, like Aerith and Tifa are like they have their external features are the opposite of their internal features. So even though Tifa has a lot of physical strength, and yes, in a lot of ways, a lot of emotional strength, she also does have a lot of weaknesses and insecurities internally. Part of that being her separation anxiety due to everything that she's lost. She is a very traumatized person, and I feel like a lot of people in the fandom, and of course, you know, Tifa haters and Tifa fans alike sometimes will overlook just how emotionally damaged she is sometimes. She has gone through everything Cloud has gone through and then some. Because, you know, I mean, true, she didn't get, you know, kidnapped by some mad scientist and experimented on. She, as a 15-year-old girl, was dumped in the middle of a horrible city, and now, thanks to Traces of Two Paths, we see just all the horrible things that she went through, being taken advantage of by people, you know, feeling like she was alone in the world. And, you know, she's just a young girl. I mean, 15 years old, she's a baby. And she was thrown into... She was thrown there with not even the clothes on her back. And she had to figure out everything on her own. And so, of course, and you know, kind of going back into, you know, how she, you know, she is this, she does exude this kind of emotional strength that people, you know, associate with her. Barrett, Cloud is like, oh, you're stronger than this and stuff. But really, honestly, it just means that Tifa is good at hiding her insecurities sometimes. Like, she's so eager to help other people and put others ahead of herself that she neglects her own well-being a lot, and she locks all of, that's why her name is Lockhart, because she locks all of her feelings deep down inside, and she doesn't let other people see it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
she hides that part from herself. That's why her and Cloud are, yes, it causes issues in their relationship because they are so similar, and they do have the tendency to not communicate with each other when they need to sometimes. But it is also a reason why they can identify with each other as well, because they both have that tendency to hide, the weaknesses that they have. Is they hide their pain, and that is something that was shown during her resolution scene. That she's finally, in the Ultimania, discusses how she has years worth of pain that she lets loose in that moment. Mm. She hasn't really allowed herself that, emotional release because she's just been tamping it down. She hasn't told Barrett what happened to her town. She hasn't told Jesse really much of anything. She hasn't told any of the other people in Midgar what has happened to her. She's very vague with it. She tells people kind of basic stuff, but she keeps most of it a secret. She didn't even tell Barrett what happened to her parents. She didn't tell what happened to her father or whatever. Because you hear Barrett ask Cloud on the staircase, hey, Tifa hasn't really told me about this stuff, and Cloud's like, no, I'm not telling you about what happened there. Yeah. You're gonna have to talk to her about that yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's gonna to the grave.
Yeah, exactly. So it is important that Cloud is important because Tifa, he is the one person that Tifa feels like she can let her walls down around. Mm-hmm. And so this story, Case of Tifa, just perfectly illustrates, just how much they do need each other because they're miserable when they're apart.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Like Cloud Cloud is on top of the world when he's with Tifa. He's there, at the very, we haven't really got to this part yet, but, talking about, how he's smiling serenely, and it's like a smile she's never seen before. Like he's on top of the world, even though everything has just fallen apart. They're living in a post-apocalyptic world. Cloud is optimistic. He's like, you know what? Everything's going to be all right this time because I have you. It's just.
Yeah, we're getting to that right now. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I just really love that scene. But just kind of getting back to Tifa's emotional weakness, and I identify so much with her, when she's talking, when she's like burying herself in her work. Like that is something that has really attached me to Tifa as a character. It really humanizes her. I'm one of those Tifa fans where I embrace even her character weaknesses because I feel like it makes her even more relatable. It makes her even more what's the word I'm looking for? It makes her more charming as a character because you're able to see those struggles and stuff and go, yeah, it makes you root for her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And kind of going through the millennial struggle, which a lot of us are going through right now. So it's very easy to see yourself in her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And her just burying herself in her work. And it is one thing that I did find, a little, it actually kind of made me a little bit frustrated too, because not so much like I'm not like angry at the characters because I understand the purpose of it, but at the same time it does feel like Tifa's everybody is so reliant upon Tifa that especially characters like Barrett are like, oh well, you got this handled, Tifa, here, I'll leave my kid with you and I'll go deal with my angst and my issues. But instead of thinking, maybe Tifa's going through a tough time too. Cloud seems to be the only one who kind of, at least in the beginning, before his own problems start to become apparent, his focus is on Tifa's emotional well-being. He's the one there comforting her in the church. Yeah. He's the one being her emotional anchor. Yeah. And again, that's why I think that Tifa's doubts and stuff become so loud later on, because she had allowed herself to become so close to Cloud and finally allowed herself to rely on him emotionally. She let her guard down around him. She finally is like, you know what, finally have someone that I can lean upon.
Yeah.
And then when that emotional support is taken from her, it really sends her, it sends her mind down these dark pathways of, oh, I'm alone now, and stuff like that, not realizing, and kind of kind of lowers the curtain over her perception too, and makes her see things worse than they actually are.
Yeah, and because she doesn't know
the worst.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes her assume the worst.
Exactly, when that's not what's going on at all. Yeah,
and that's not what's going on at all. Exactly.
Yeah.
So. But anyway, I'll let us move forward now. So I just wanted to get.
Yeah, well, we went through a lot of it, so okay. So I guess I'll just mention specifics and stop me as you want to. So that I would say that part was like just us going over her overall mood throughout the story. So something I caught earlier, and I said that I was going to mention it on the stream because some people were interested. So that scene that Monk was talking about, the Because I Have You, first it starts, as I said, with this scene with Denzel, Tifa, and Marlene a couple days after Cloud has left. Then it flashes back to the day of Meteor, specifically as Meteor is hitting Midgar, and Lifestream scene is stopping it. So that's a couple paragraphs right here. And it ends with, was she really supposed to just carry on regardless? Whenever someone else asked her the same questions, she answered without hesitation. Well, you have to go on living no matter what happens. And yet, when she posed it to herself, she wasn't sure. So, I guess I should say, yeah, right here, the first sentence says, the chosen day, Meteor hurtling down distant outer space. The Lifestream scene erupted from the planet to meet it above Midgar. So, yeah, that couple of paragraphs is about that. But then it jumps back, and so the next section leads from her explanation about the Shinra company and their relationship with Avalanche and why Avalanche wanted to go after them, to then it goes into this. She too had believed that Avalanche's lofty goals were worth the sacrifices. Along with the others, she buried the twinges of guilt beneath the narcissism of self-sacrifice, beneath the belief that she was putting her life on the line for the greater good. And so she's starting to feel guilty about, basically she comes to the conclusion that it was more about revenge for her than doing what was good for the planet, even if it was both happening to some degree. And then it says that launched them, and then it says, and as their battle against Shinra gained its terrible momentum, another foe joined the fray. His name was Sephiroth. That launched them into a new journey. With Tifa was Cloud, a boy she'd known back home, Barrett, the other surviving member of Avalanche, and Aerith and Red 13. So she's talking about the time that Aerith's alive here. Then it goes on to say, new friendships blossomed, but also as if in payment, Aerith was taken from them. From them. Everybody feels she was taken from them. And that's very important because people like to obsess over the idea that only Cloud is upset over her, or Cloud's the most upset over her, because Cloud, all of these characters go through their own redemption arc, and all of them are wearing those ribbons for Aerith. They all lost her.
Yeah.
And then from there it says, but the quest continued. Once they felt the final battle drawing near, only then did Tifa find herself reflecting on all that had brought them to that pass and the decisions they had made without victory, without the thought of victory or defeat. So the next couple paragraphs, then she's describing basically everything she went through and all the reasons she hated Shinra. But as I said, she mentions, but in the name of defending the planet, too many lives were taken. Never mind for the purpose of settling a personal vendetta. Talks about guilt, and then this is where it goes into what Monk is talking about. One of our favorite scenes. It's one of the best scenes ever. And I'm really hoping the reason this came up is because this appears, from the way this trajectory goes with the story, that at the time that this happens, this is right before the final battle. So it goes on to say, as she looked to what would soon be the ruins of Midgar, Tifa feared for her future. But next to her, Cloud was watching the same scene and smiling serenely. That smile was nothing she'd ever seen during her travels. Cloud sensed her gaze. What? Cloud, you're smiling. Am I? Yep. This is where it starts. He paused, looking for the right words. A new life, he finally said. I'm going to keep on living. I think it'd be wrong to do anything else after all that's happened. Now, what's striking about here, because I noticed this time jump, you remember I mentioned the meteor thing, and then the last thing she says that anytime somebody asks her what she's going to do, she says she's going to keep on living. She then thinks back to when Cloud said it to her in this passage. And so I think that's where she got that from. That's the connection. That's why they jumped back a little bit more. But they wanted to point out that little meteor part. Yeah, I guess you're right. When I think of how many times I've told myself that, though, it makes me laugh. What do you mean? Because I always screwed it up. That's not funny. But this time, I think it'll be okay. He thought for a bit before adding, because this time I have you. We've kind of always had each other, haven't we? Yeah, but now I know what that means. Cloud replied, smiling again. So that's definitely a huge cloudy scene. And it shows you, now it still would have had a very similar impact to me, particularly with the LTD, if he had said that, a couple weeks after Meteor Fall, whatever. But it's very telling, if I'm right on this timing, based on her saying it would soon be the ruins of Midgar, meaning Midgar is still intact at that point. Mm-hmm. The fact that this is within 2 weeks of Aerith dying, you get the Lifestream scene where Cloud's mind awakens for the second time, hearing Tifa's call to him. Then you have the Highwind scene, romantic in nature, no matter what they did all night. Clearly romantic in nature.
They played pat a cake.
Exactly. And before
they played canasta. They showed each other the stamp collection.
I love the stamp collection, of course. Yes.
They had tea and crackers.
And this is real Cloud. You have real Cloud through this last week at least. So Tifa's in a coma for a week. We don't really know how long it takes them to find him in Medill. Maybe a couple days, and then there's a week between.
I rushed it.
Mm-hmm.
I rushed it.
Yeah, and then there's a week between when Cloud gives that big speech saying, "Go find the reason for fighting," and the last day. She's when she's looking at the fact that they're about to go face the final battle. She's afraid. She's feeling guilty about everything she does. Like basically, she's having a life flashing before her eyes moment.
Yeah.
She looks over at Cloud. He's peaceful. He's smiling. He's calm. And it shows you that in that moment, when Cloud's thinking about everything, he's thinking about Tifa. Everything that's happened is going to be okay because I got this girl by my side, the girl I've always loved by my side, and nothing else matters. So it's nice to see that, and that's what we mean by eventually he becomes her rock in a lot of ways, because while she's going through this she's finally allowed to think about all of this. It isn't a daily thing for survival. Even when Cloud disappeared, then it's all about finding Cloud. Like it was always about something. Now it's about her. She can focus on herself and her feelings and what she's going through. And Cloud is there to be her rock. And it's a really romantic, sweet moment. And in the next scene, it jumps, and then I'll let y'all jump in from here. In the next scene, it goes into how they all go to see Aerith together at the Forgotten City, and Tifa starts to fall apart here. She said she hadn't gotten the chance to mourn when Sephiroth killed Aerith. Whatever sorrow she felt quickly turned into anger and hatred for their enemy. And what's funny, this is what they claim was going on with Cloud and Maiden.
Yeah,
Instead, it wasn't Cloud. Cloud's fine here. It was Tifa that was pissed off.
He's got post-nut clarity.
Yes. So whatever sorrow she felt, because they literally had sex the night before the battle. Yeah. So, but now coming to this place again, the unfiltered sorrow drove deep. Stricken, she realized I did this too. The things I did with Avalanche made many people feel like I do now. She sobbed harder. The tears wouldn't stop. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So sorry. She felt Cloud's hand on her shoulder. She's thinking this now. He's holding me here, anchoring me so I don't get lost, she thought. I can cry as much as I want now. Then I'll be ready to lean on his shoulder, because I sure don't know how to do this by myself. Definitely the chapter resolution scene. I'm sorry, the chapter 14 resolution scene. Definitely an homage to this, in my opinion.
Or vice versa.
Or nod, or whatever. It's a nod to it. Well, this came first, so I mean that's why.
So the resolution scene is more of a nod to this.
Yes.
I just feel as if it's another instance of everybody else's accomplishments being moved to either Cloud or Aerith, and it's just like, no. We actually get to see Tifa be weak. We get to see her kind of do an emotional spiral, even though you just want to kind of give her a little, come on, you don't have time for that right now. But I feel as if, again, this is another important instance of, we get to see Cloud. He's good. He's cool. He's like, I'm all irie. It's all good. He can be afraid of the end, but he's not. And I kind of feel as if that this is important. And sorry if I'm repeating that phrase. It's a new verbal tick, apparently. We have this instance of, this is his face. This is his persona. This is what he looks like when he's not depressed, when he's not being miscategorized as an emo edgelord. That is a regular mispersonification that is applied to him. He's good. He's not a... Yes, he does have a low opinion of himself, even in his healthiest state.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't negate but it doesn't negate the fact that he's looking forward, and he's like, you know what, I'm probably going to fail, but I'm going to try anyway, if for nothing else than for Tifa.
Mm-hmm.
He has a reason
because I have you. I mean, that could not be clearer, as Monk and I said in another stream.
Exactly. It is so plainly written. But there's so much noise going on within fandom spaces. The subset of a subset of a subset, for example, like screaming bloody murder, when in all actuality it's just, and that's to cover up these little scenes, these moments of, hey, he's not destroyed. I mean, yes, he is upset that he lost a friend. They're all upset that they lost a friend, but he is not processing grief to the extreme that people want him to. No,
there's a completely different depiction of him than
his
they made
life. What the thing is that, you know, to quote Rhea, the subset of a subset of a subset likes to paint Cloud as this one-dimensional character where every facet of his being revolves around this one moment in his life, when he's so much more complex than that. He has so much more going on in his life, and he's really, at his core, is actually kind of an optimistic person at the end of it, you know? Yeah, regardless of his own, you know, insecurities and, you know, his you know, sometimes low opinion of himself, because of Tifa, and people are forgetting that Cloud has this new burst of confidence thanks to what is revealed to him, you know, and yeah, the Highwind scene is a very important part. I know it becomes, you know, a discussion in the fandom. It's like, oh, Cloudy sex, ha ha ha. But there's a very deep aspect and a turning point for Cloud under the Highwind. The turning point for Tifa was in the Lifestream scene.
Yeah.
But we're kind of led to believe that Cloud doesn't really remember much of what happens in the Lifestream scene. That's why he's surprised when Tifa confesses to him under the Highwind, because he doesn't really quite remember everything that got revealed to Tifa. But Tifa remembers. And because of what is revealed in the Lifestream scene, that spurs her confidence to confess to him, because she realizes where his affections lie. And then Cloud returns those feelings, and that is his turning point. And you see this, you know, we kind of joke around and call it Cloud's post-nut clarity, that he's able to beat Sephiroth and save the world because he's finally got together with Tifa. That is such an important thing to him, because that is what he's been working towards for years. It is his deep desire. It's his secret sealed up wish that he's always wanted to be with Tifa. He's wanted her to notice him. He's wanted her to, take him on, to be his partner. And now that finally happened, it doesn't matter that meteor is barreling down on the world. He's gonna sit there and do squats and go, "Don't worry, Tifa, I got this handled.
I'll make enough ruckus for all of us." Woo! Yeah. I mean, that's what's so incredibly important about the scene, because, as I said, this is after the Highwind scene and right before they go to kill Sephiroth. Cloud is in this place of serenity. I mean, that is hard to believe if he is in love with somebody else who just dropped dead 2 weeks ago, that he's going to be this happy a couple weeks later. In the middle of literally the end of the world. It's like that song. It's the end of the world as we know. And I feel that is Cloud. Whereas everybody else is like, we about to die, right? Like,
I know. She's like,
forget about it.
The cookie wasn't that good, was it? I mean, well,
apparently it was. Apparently it was, because
pun intended. He's on cloud 9. Like, bring it on, bro. I got this.
Well, and then like they're sitting there at Forgotten City. Cloud isn't even feeling anything in that moment. Doesn't that tell you something too? He said that if he wasn't showing it, because he was more concerned about being there for Tifa, who was crying, than
later instances, which will be revealed later on, either here or I don't even remember, where it's just until his failures are slapped in his face like a rolled up newspaper, he's okay. Like, yes, he has something to lose, and he is going to be fiercely protective of it. But it's not until all the bad smacks him in the face.
Yeah. And I'm not saying, I want to be clear, I'm not saying he felt nothing, like, I'm sitting there with her dead body sitting there and I don't care. That's what I'm saying. Exactly. He's not the one falling apart. It's Tifa falling apart. That's what I'm trying to say.
Exactly. Well, it's the thing with with Cloud, it's like it obviously, just like everyone there, it obviously mattered to all of them, otherwise they wouldn't have shown up there. They went there to grieve, they went there to mourn the loss of a friend, but it's not something that Cloud is at this point is going to allow to overshadow what he feels is the more important thing of being there for Tifa. And if you think about it, this is also kind of reflected a little bit in a remake scene where he's lost a comrade in Jesse. And he's obviously upset about Jesse dying. He's not happy about it by any means. He's not an inhuman jerk. But what supersedes even that is when he sees Tifa break down, and he's there. He's holding Jesse in his arms, and he's looking at Tifa because she's breaking down and sobbing. He's like, Tifa, his focus goes to Tifa, even though he's holding the dying girl in his arms.
Exactly. Exactly. I guarantee we're going to get something. I'm telling you, we're going to get something similar out of Temple of the Ancients. I think it's going to turn into a clouded moment. Personally, that's where I'm making. But anyway, that's another story.
Yeah, but to kind of put a pin on that, it's very much Cloud is still separate from his emotional self up until we get through On the Way to a Smile and what have you. So because most of his memories, or he did not snap into his current self until Tifa found him. So his current emotional tether is Tifa. So he is feeding off of Tifa's pain.
Yes.
Like he is so empathetic to her and her emotional state that he will mirror it. If she's hurting, he's hurting. Whereas outside of Tifa, he is it's almost like there's a veil between him and the full breadth of his emotions. So Soldier Cloud, we only get like the tip of the iceberg. He probably feels a lot more strongly, but we only get to see the cute little cheeky smirk that he's got, like when he does something cool and he gets the praise, or when he's laughing at Wedge, it's still kind of muted. You can see that he has emotions. His emotions are there, but it's muted. Whereas with Tifa, true Cloud emerges. And his that veil is kind of parted just long enough for him to feel her pain. So
yeah,
it's an interesting point.
Yeah. You see, and again, keep going to resolution saying just because it's the most, like, it's the most dramatic version of all this that we're talking about in the game for a lot of it. Yeah, you see the devastation on his face before he even hugs her. Like, he's just listening to her sob. And it's killing him. And it's breaking through Soldier Cloud. And that's where you get the hug, and they allude to the Lifestream scene and all that. Yeah, so yeah, it's good stuff. I really liked reading through this and seeing tidbits that I could make parallels with. So
there's definitely I love it as well, especially considering that not a lot of people did get to read On the Way to a Smile. Mm-hmm. Now it's just like remake is kind of slapping you in the face with it. Be like, nah, look at this. Look at these facts.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. All right. So, I'm gonna gloss over here. So, one thing that does happen, everybody disperses. Cloud and Tifa went to Barrett's hometown. For Barrett, everything had begun with tragedy of Coral's Mako reactor. Basically, he says, "Shouldn't have come here. I'm not living here." Cloud and Tifa then go to Nibelheim, and basically at the same moment, and this line is important because Cloud says, "I feel like we're getting dragged back into the past by going to a place that reminds us of stuff that we've gone through." This actually ties in, and after reading this in full again, it gives me a different perspective on some other stuff that aunties use against Tifa and Cloud. So. Yeah.
A subset of a subset, those jerks.
But even I would say even not a subset of a subset in this case. Just either people who haven't read it in full or just inclined to believe that something else is going on entirely in this. Like, don't come at it with the premise. Clearly, these two aren't shacking up in a house together, and nothing's going on. Like, it doesn't matter. Again, doesn't matter what the label is. They're clearly in a romantic relationship, regardless of what they call it. Okay. So then they go to Calm. They get Marlene. They break the news to Elmira. Mm-hmm. She says y'all don't have to apologize. But Tifa's like, did we do everything that we could? And if I pass by something that you want to talk about, just stop me. I'm just going through here. We got about. Okay.
I am a little confused here because, maybe not like confused is the word I'm looking for, but I just played through this part in OG, and actually says that Reeve is actually the one who breaks the news about Era's death to Elmira and Marlene. He even talks about how Marlene and Elmira cried so much and stuff. So
yeah, it's inconsistent.
There's a little bit of inconsistency here. I guess the way you could kind of work it out is that it feels more personal coming from Cloud, Tifa, and Barrett than it would coming from a Shinra employee like Reeve. So
also it could be, again, this is Tifa's perspective. We don't know if she told them that somebody already told me or what. I mean. So I guess technically that could not be. I just see it as this retconning OG. That's how I see it. Yeah. This is how it actually occurred because they needed to lay into Cloud's guilt. So he's gone back to Nibelheim, and this is a pattern we see. He's gone back to Nibelheim, goes back to Calm. This happens, but he's still in an optimistic mood about the relationship. So about the whole thing. So let's see. They start learning about what geostigma is. Then there's some moments. Basically, they're rebuilding the bar. Let's see. So okay. So the four of them arrived.
And there's a little foreshadowing in remake. I'm just gonna jump in here real quick. When they're climbing up the pillar in remake, and they take one look over, the devastation of Sector 7. Mm-hmm. And Tifa and Barrett start talking about rebuilding the bar. And then Tifa looks at Cloud and she says, "You'll help, right?" And I was like, dude, they just kind of like referenced On the Way to a Smile a little bit here because of...
Not a little bit.
Well, okay, not a little bit. It's very on the nose. But, yeah, I just thought it was a neat little Easter egg that they threw in there. It's like, oh, yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen in the future. They are going to rebuild the bar.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like because she actually didn't want to name it, and that's what I'm kind of getting at a little bit here. But yeah, you're absolutely right. She didn't even want to rename it Seventh Heaven, but Marlene kind of convinces her, and I think the others like the name too. And then also foreshadowing Marlene becoming their daughter when you see the Golden Trio all overlooking Marlene as she sleeps. Like, they didn't have to show. I mean, I could understand Tifa and Barrett in chapter 13 looking, but why is Cloud just as eager and relieved to see Marlene peacefully sleeping in bed, and they're all just gazing at her as she
she's a cute little munchkin.
Yeah, I mean, that's not necessarily usual behavior from Cloud. You would think he'd just go to sleep somewhere. He doesn't even seem to like kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's that line in the room too, when Tifa's coming in to talk to Cloud. And she says, oh, you're losing that hard edge. Maybe Marlene won't be so scared of you next time. It's all these little things.
Yeah.
Little things.
And then you see Cloud comforting Barrett when he thinks Marlene is gone and all of that. And he's like, just think about Marlene, nothing else. Helping Barrett focus on what's important and all that to get him through until he sees his kid again and all that. Yeah. So.
Golden Trio stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Where we're gonna find it. Okay, so eventually they get to Midgar, and they settle down. Let's see. Oh, okay. Here we go. And here's another reference to going on living. So, ashamed once more of her self-absorption, she confessed to Cloud and Barrett what she had been thinking on the airship. So what she was thinking on the airship earlier, I guess is what they mean, about all the stuff that happened with Avalanche. And she said, Barrett stated, none of us is going to be outdistancing our guilt anytime soon. So we just got to go on living. Live out our days trying to atone. That's the only road we got. So there's this theme. You got to just keep going. You got to keep going. And he said, and then Cloud says to Tifa, it's not like you to get so weighed down, Cloud told her when they were alone. Well, it is now. No, you're stronger than that. And if you've forgotten how to be strong, I'll have to remind you. You will you? If I can, he managed, suddenly blushing. Now, why show him blushing? What is the point of that? I mean, okay, see, these people are just like, okay. There
is zero platonic explanation for any of that.
Okay.
What is this platonic you speak of?
Honestly. Okay, so they get a bunch of people together, start gathering volunteers and supplies and stuff in order to rebuild the bar. And let's see, 700. So they convinced Tifa to rebuild the same bar, except now, of course, it's a bar I guess it was before. Bar in a house is just like a different setup. Blah, 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 blah.
They just gotta make it a little bigger because they got a little bit of a bigger family now.
Exactly. Give it a shot, Tifa.
And then I need to know how they figured out the freaking floor plan of that house. I tried to recreate it in Sims. Too many half levels.
I know. It's too much happening. It's too much happening. So, so they had to convince her basically to. Well, see, that's another thing. Laughing like for real. We're running for good stuff. Blah blah blah. Right, people need that now. So they were saying, Tifa, we really do need to rebuild the bar, and everybody ends up agreeing. And one thing that happens here as they're building out the bar, one funny part is because they got these volunteers, Barrett boomed out orders like a parade ground sergeant, while Cloud went around quietly issuing corrections. Now that is totally Cloud.
I audibly laughed when I read that part for the first time. Like I was like, I can see it. I can visually see it.
Yeah. Because Cloud would be like, please don't do that. You're gonna screw this up. Don't listen to him on that.
But he's not going to say it in front of Barrett because he knows Barrett will blow a gasket. So he's
Yeah.
he's got to be like the tactful one and just kind of sneak around back and fixing everything as Barrett's going through, barreling through.
Yes, which that is a real Cloud thing. That is not a Soldier Cloud. Soldier Cloud would have been like, you idiot, don't do it like that. And that would have been a whole fight right there. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But also it can be said that real Cloud is actually more respectful of Barrett.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's showing their consideration of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that he's not going to kind of embarrass Barrett intentionally in this weird power play that the two had at the start of both original and remake.
Yeah.
Because they had this power play going, but now it's just like, nah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, an alpha doesn't need to tell you he's an alpha, for example.
Exactly.
So Cloud, he's fine with letting Barrett do his thing. He's not going to humiliate him, but he's going to fix it in the back end because he doesn't want things to be wrong either.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, because he got to live in that bitch, so he like, nah, we got to fix
Right.
it.
And you know that they got to make sure that Tifa has her bathtub deep enough that it covers both her knees and her titties at the same time when she's bathing.
Because that's a very important part, apparently. So,
Yeah,
that came out of left field, but yeah.
It's got to be big enough that two people can bathe at the same time.
No, yeah, for sure. I love how titties, the word titties always makes it in every stream of mine. I don't know what's going on here, but okay. All right, so.
Because of me.
Now, what's interesting as well, everybody else is super optimistic during this time. There's lines like this for Tifa. Sometimes when Tifa caught herself laughing, she would be stricken with guilt. What right did she have to be happy after all the pain she'd caused? Her and Cloud are going through the same thing. They're just going through it at different times. You see this a lot in Tifa's thing. She'll be in a happy moment and she'll be like, but what if he leaves? It's like, bitch, he ain't he's right there. Like, stop. Stop. So here's some Marlene's helping her pick out the names. She gets her to give it the same name. Let's see. And then it starts talking about the cute little stuff like, so Cloud, Barrett acted basically as a bouncer. Basically, he just sat in the bar and drank. And then Cloud's job was to obtain supplies. He would take different means of transportation that obviously cost more money and stuff, took longer. And one moment I like this and what I like about their dynamic, they're so considerate of each other. And you see that a lot in remake. You're really seeing the groundwork for why their relationship works so well. Let me read some comments real quick. Hey Bobby, BoobTube, yep. Let's see, I was in one of your streams, Rio, when you were trying to do that in Sims. Yeah, that stream that you did with the avid children. Poor Reeve, he had good intentions, but it's associated with Shinra fucked him over. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, hello everyone who's here so far. So we're in the middle of Case of Tifa. After this, we're just gonna skim over Denzel because I'm just gonna tell you the summary of what happened and if we have any comments. So we're on page 42 right now. We got 8 to go. So
sorry for me eating. I'm just fucking ravenous. Please
yeah, so
me.
am I. You're good. One cute part is Cloud, she realizes Cloud can't tell the difference between vegetables. She also realized Cloud lost a lot of time and then he was raised by mom and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it isn't explicit said here, but if you know the story, like you can kind of get why vegetables weren't at the top of his list. Okay. And at first she kind of giggles at it, that the big bad Cloud would not know vegetables, but then she remembers why. She's like, no, I shouldn't laugh. She, even without being prompted, she doesn't need Cloud to be visibly angry with her or shout at her like some people do sometimes for her to correct her own. She knows him, so she's
conscious of him.
And she's conscious of him, and she's not trying to make him feel better, humiliate him. She knows that stuff that he can't take that type of ridicule or teasing or anything like that.
But in his defense, I just saw a story on social media where this man was so proud of his melon, and it turns out it was just a really big cucumber. So sometimes vegetables just don't look like they're supposed to. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to look at that cucumber again.
Yeah. Yeah, and another thing too, going back on like their consideration of each other, like Cloud is going through that, really most, I'm not trying to make a statement about all men, but a lot of men would just see that as too much of a hassle. Like I can't tell you the number of times like my dad has been like, oh, I don't want to go do grocery shopping. Rah, rah, rah. They see it as like a inconvenience or whatever. But Cloud is more than happy to go grocery shopping for his woman.
Absolutely, yeah.
Even if he doesn't know what he's looking at, he's trying his best, and I think it's so adorable.
He is, and like Cloud is putting in 150% effort. Even in their lower times in here, he's still working his ass off every day. He's still coming home. He actually starts taking off a little more time so he can spend it more with Denzel and Marlene and be in the bar with Tifa and yeah. So he's really putting in 100% effort. It really it is just because he got geostigma that he left. It had nothing to do. It wasn't that he didn't want to be there. In fact, things started looking like they were coming on the up and up, which is again why she was so surprised when he just vanished.
Exactly, which is like I want to discuss that point, but before I do so, another thing that I find really cute. Excuse me, I'm sorry. My soda's coming back up. So 2 points. The first being that it's not just Cloud going off and running errands for Tifa with a smile on his face. He's also going out of her way to get her gifts that she would like. Like, oh, look at this fresh produce that I found. So even if he doesn't understand what it is.
Yeah, y'all keep getting ahead of me. I'm not. Yes, you're right. That does happen.
But there's also another instance of going back to Tifa not embarrassing Cloud. It's not just that she's conscious of him, but it's and now that I'm about to say it, I kind of feel bad that I'm going to say it, but it has to be said. So in Chapter 8 of the remake, Aerith is going to go out of her way to embarrass Cloud. Mm-hmm. Whereas the dichotomy is that in the book, Tifa doesn't want to do so, even if she has there's no peer around for him to be humiliated by. Mm-hmm. Now, I do think Cloud would take a lot more from Tifa before he even thought to be upset about it, but it's still a clear difference between, and I hate saying this, but this is one of the main issues that I had with her in-game portrayal, is that Aerith did go out of her way to try to embarrass Cloud with her mother.
Yeah, I can't even say it was more. I don't know if I'm going to say going out of her way, but I get what you're saying for sure. Yeah. More like indifferent about it. What she was indifferent about, who was in the fact that this is my mother. Mm-hmm. He just met her. He doesn't know her. They don't have any joking relationship between each other, and you're basically implying that I'm too stupid to get back to Sector 7 by myself. Like. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when it's one big pizza pie. Like, I think I can figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, exactly.
Yeah,
but I think there's a sense of chivalry that also added to him. Trying to make sure that she's home safe, because as far as he knows, the Turks were going to do her harm. Yeah, he doesn't know any better.
So he's went out of his way, even though he wanted to go home, and So so you understand his frustration at that moment. I don't know that I don't know if I want to put intent behind what she did. Is what I'm saying. I just don't think she was. Exactly. She just wasn't thinking about. She just wasn't being cognizant of it.
She's not going to think about that,
and she wasn't thinking about what it would do to Cloud. Like, exactly, because that's not his personality.
And quite frankly, it goes to show that Aerith doesn't really know. And that's what it comes down to. that leads down to Cloud's line: "Stop acting like you know me." And she is acting in a way where she thinks she's in the kind of position where she can joke around with him and stuff like that. And they don't really know each other yet. Mm-hmm. There has to be, she made. I'm not one of those people who's going to, ascribe a malicious intent to what Aerith is doing. I don't believe that at all.
No.
But it stems from her just not knowing Cloud and not knowing how to really act around him in a way where it makes him feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. She's always putting him in these uncomfortable situations, whether she intends to or not.
Whereas Zach, even the one moment I can think of where she was, talking badly about soldiers, there was a tiny bit of tension for a moment, but then Zach turned it right around. He was like, "Oh, well, there's nothing scary about soldiers. Look at my eyes." And then they have that flirty moment, and he turns it around. Yeah, whereas Cloud was angry.
And that's the thing with Aerith, is that because especially in the very beginning, she is really trying to associate Cloud with Zach. That is at the forefront of her mind right now. So this very beginning part of her interactions, she's used to being able to tease the person and have them kind of throw it back at her, be playful back. And Cloud is just not like
he
that.
is not that person.
So
not in the way she does it.
Not in the way that she does it.
She does it at the expense of
Cloud. She's being mean, but that's exactly it. Like she has been sheltered in such a way that she probably can get away with a lot because, again, where she lives has been made like a special zone. They're protected from gang violence, everything.
Anything.
So Aerith is a little bit. She's kind of like, I know that was kind of a bratty thing. It was cute, but it was kind of bratty. But I'm gonna accept it because you keep me safe. She walks on
and again,
water.
Zach just has an entirely different, like, it's, I know people get confused by this because we always talk about Zach Cloud or whatever, Cloud's mannerisms, like some of his mannerisms, some of his behavior, some of his definitely the way he looks, certain things he may even say remind her of Zach. Because she knew Zach so well, she sees it immediately in Cloud. It's not that Cloud, but Cloud and even Soldier Cloud and Zach do not have the same personality. That's two different things. They do not have the same personality.
And that's the thing.
He is a pouty. Go ahead.
That is one frustrating part of the discourse around Soldier Cloud or whatever, is that there can never seem to, whenever people they'll accuse us of saying that Cloud is a carbon copy of Zach. No. He is not a carbon
Nobody
copy
who's played the game said that.
No, exactly. And nobody is saying that Cloud is Zach. We're saying that Cloud has memories of Zach, and he is taking aspects from Zach and applying it to his soldier persona because he's putting a front out there.
And the front is for Tifa. It's not for Aerith. Aerith is just the one who knows Zach, so she's the one getting caught up romantically by it. As far as from her end, she's seeing something romantic, whereas Tifa is seeing something disturbing to her because she's like, "Why is Cloud acting so weird?" She knows Cloud.
There's an interesting dichotomy here, which kind of plays into the different, type of relationships that are built. Aerith clings on to the false persona that Cloud has because it reminds her of Zach, and it makes her feel closer to Zach, and so that's the part that she's attracted to. That's the part that she kind of clings on to, while acknowledging that there is a part of him that is different, and she's curious about it. Whereas Tifa, she knows the real Cloud. She sees the real Cloud in there, but she sees all this weird stuff around him. And, of course, she's attracted to the real Cloud, not the soldier persona. And the soldier persona actually kind of scares her a little bit because she doesn't understand it.
Yeah, and it's dangerous.
And it's dangerous in some cases. Like, she's ready to kill somebody over it,
So again, Auntie's take this as something against Tifa, but in fact, it's because she knows him. That she's so troubled by the fact that he was just about to go kill 5 people right in front. She's like, this is not Cloud. Like, he's not this super bad soldier who'll just go out running around and do all this. So that's a plus on Tifa. The fact that she looked in his eyes and didn't recognize him. She didn't recognize real Cloud.
But this further proves my point.
She's like, who are you and what have you done with Cloud?
Yeah.
Exactly. But another reason why I brought that point up, not to go too far.
Yeah, because we got to get back to this.
Right.
But the reason I bring that up is I kind of feel as if that scene was created as a mirror to that instance where Tifa, even without prompting, is like, I'm not going to belittle Cloud even if there's nobody around, because she cares about his mental well-being. She's understanding of him as a person. Whereas we have the mirror in chapter 8 of Remake where
she just doesn't know him.
Exactly. So it's very much a night and day. We have this further proving that Aerith is not compatible with Cloud. Because where she is teasing, she doesn't understand that Cloud has spent so much of his life being teased.
Or being looked down on, or being he don't find that funny at all. He don't want anything to do with that.
He's gonna be a little sensitive to that, and I understand if anyone's ever been bullied, you're gonna have some exposed nerves by the end of it. So it's just like, even if she didn't intend it, she's still kind of flicking the exposed nerve, and it's very much that I feel as if that was a mirror or reflection of this instance where Tifa is actually going out of her way to correct her own behavior before it even becomes an issue, because she is so cognizant of Cloud's history, of his needs, and of his shortcomings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, and last thing I'll say about that is, and it's not that Cloud and Tifa don't have it. Like, you see them teasing each other in chapter 3, but it's different teasing. It's, you know, I mean, first off, it's sexual. I don't care what anybody says.
Deeply flirtatious.
Very flirt. You know, that was going to be on the test. You know, it's like,
yeah.
Okay.
And here's the thing too, is that it's always spun in kind of almost like a complimentary kind of way. Like, they're complimenting each other in their teasing rather than negging or dragging each other down.
Yeah,
and it isn't one-sided. Cloud often is initiating it, frankly. And they're having a banter back and forth.
Yeah, but that's exactly it, though, because it is complimentary as compared to negative. Their teasing is building each other up, like they're each other's hype person, you know. Whereas Aerith, even though again, I'm not subscribing her actions to malicious, but we cannot deny that her idea of teasing is kind of to punch down a little bit, and that she is used to kind of being around people that punch down, as we've seen in Aerith's book.
And I will say this: they have some cute back and forth banter in that chapter. She just goes too far sometimes. That's how I see it. So in that instance, I just met your mom. I don't know her. She doesn't know me. I'm a grown ass man in here with a big sword. Like, I'm not trying to seem, I'm trying to be extra on my on good behavior. And then you're, like the whole point was to get you home so I can go back, and now you're reneging on your word and telling me, I got to stay here the whole night. Like, I'm too damn dumb to go find my way to Sector 7. Exactly. And then I mean, I think she just took it too far. Whereas, like, when they say Cloud actually, this is a little, these monsters go after weaker prey, and she's like, oh, well, you better watch out. You better watch out then, Cloud. Like, they have some,
they're teasing. They're punching down a little bit, but like you said,
you're right. That is exactly the difference. They're because like he's calling her the weaker prey, or she looks right at the train station like, there's a train station. Like, he's too dumb to know it's a train station. He's like, exactly. I can see that, and she's like, oh, I thought the world you knew didn't include train stations. Yeah, so
it's like, even if it's not malicious, it's still very much a talking down to each other,
a sibling-ish type banter.
A little bit, but it's also like, okay, I need to bring you down to my level instead of building up to yours.
Man, anyway, we just went on a whole 15-minute tangent, completely sorry.
Really off point. It's very much on point, because you'll actually notice that On the Way to a Smile has so much in Remake is referencing On the Way to a Smile, either as an exact parallel or as a mirror image kind of thing.
I agree. And then, so just kind of fast track a little bit here. So there's a couple more instances again where everybody's having a good time. So then, like, at the same time, but then, she mentions that she hopes that Cloud isn't working himself too hard for her sake. So, let me go back a little bit here. So, Cloud was not the best at give and take and trade, which is to say, he was downright awful at it. Still, it was his job to acquire provisions, and the experience of negotiating with other people carried more value than the overblown prices he sometimes paid. She sees value, again, and like you said, with the parallels, with chapter 3. She sees value here, even if they may overpay on stuff sometimes, and in her mind, she knows that's like a ridiculous, why would she pay that? She's not going to say it. She's going to stay encouraging him, and she's proud of him because he's learning these life lessons, these things that he's lost, and she knows she knows what he can accomplish. So she knows with time he's going to get the hang of it, and he's a very fast learner. So she says
he's like catching up on some lost years, and he's zipping right through them because she's allowing him to do so at his own pace, and his own pace just keeps on getting faster and faster, building momentum. And she's not going to do anything to kind of trip up that momentum, which I feel it's very important, not just in their relationship, but overall. If you're going to teach someone something, you don't want them to feel stupid so that they give up.
Yeah. And it says in reunion files, Here it is. That's only because it's related directly to this. So reunion files, which is in English and Japanese. It's already translated in these books. You can get it on Amazon. I would definitely buy it if you can get it. Tifa's a strong woman. She doesn't like what Cloud is doing, but instead of lecturing him about every little thing, she's been waiting for him to realize for himself what his actions are doing. She's remarkably strong, not only emotionally, but physically as well. I think that using words to help lead Cloud to his own conclusions instead of constant lecture is definitely a quality of Tifa's. And that's Tifa's personality. So yeah, that is another dynamic. And you see this in chapter 3 as well with the relationship, where she's nudging him. What do you want to do today? Oh, I don't know. Well, I got a suggestion and you want to hear it. And then she goes into a full-blown business plan on how to get him on the market within a day. No, within a day, she's got the entire Sector 7 talking about him.
Where she does, 'cause I actually know some of my clients for bookkeeping are actual business advisors, and I'm like, Tifa needs to have like a side hustle.
She really do.
Advises other people's businesses, gets them up and running,
She
just for a
really
small
do.
percentage of the first for a little bit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just like, damn, woman,
Yeah.
I need to in my corner.
So, but yeah, even if
It's just so awesome, and yeah, like going off of what you guys have been saying, you know, like she has this element of patience to her, which is why she is such a perfect match for Cloud, because she is able to kind of take on a little bit of that mentorship of him, teaching him the ropes and stuff. And again, it is a direct parallel, or like you said, Rhea, it's like a mirror of chapter 3. You know, teaching him the rules for the ground floor, and she's been through these experiences before. And so now she's kind of holding Cloud's hand and walking him through it without making him feel lesser than. Like, she's still treating him like her equal.
yes.
And because she knows.
I didn't see him.
Who did you want to see?
Put Vincent back. I need to see him again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Mom, close your eyes because you don't deserve to see him.
Yeah, you don't deserve him. I need to see my lover.
Yeah.
You guys shush your faces. You know I don't do it. You know I only give Pidgey a hard time. You know I only give Pidgey a hard time.
Whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Wife and his lover.
Exactly. I don't care which one I am, as long as I'm in there. Okay, so, but even here, she's talking about she hope he isn't working too hard for her sake. Which, of course, if he's working that hard, is absolutely for her. One day the bar will be running nice and smooth. What if he decides to leave? This leads into the scene where Barrett announces that he's leaving, and Cloud seems to already know. So she kind of gets a little snipey with him about that. She said, "Did you know?" She demanded of Cloud. "Yeah, you didn't try to stop him." "No, he just said this is your place where you belong. So I guess that's that then." "Cloud, is this what you think too?" Tifa wants to ask, is this where you think you belong? Which we know the Cloud thinks that. Nojima does, so yeah, that's all. Yeah, exactly. At the very least, Nojima does. So, and then basically they have the moment where Marlene, she's left with Cloud and Tifa, and she says, "Cloud and Tifa could be my parents for now, so don't worry, I'll take care of them." And this is kind of their dynamic, because while, of course, they're the adults taking care of her, sometimes she has to step in and be the voice of reason between these two. Like, hey, Cloud is out there. You know he's out there. Let's go find him. Stop being a dumbass. So, stop being stubborn about it. You don't know why he left. Just go ask him. You know what I mean? That's kind of what's like, Marlene's. Yeah,
that's one of Tifa's many flaws, in that whereas usually her patience is a good thing, sometimes she's a little too patient. Just like, okay, time to light a fire under that ass. Let's go.
She thinks she just thinks like he loves shit. As I said, she's speculating in the beginning of the book. She thought he was hurt, and then she's finding out that he's running around. She don't realize he's running around trying to find a cure, and he was too ashamed to tell her that he was dying. Like, that's what was going on.
Yeah.
And Marlene's like, "Why are you going through the grief if you don't have to? Just go ask him. And if the answer's bad, then you move on. And if it like, why sit around tormenting yourself wondering why he left?"
Exactly. Marlene is a little too smart for her own damn good. All I know is this, though. She is a mini Barrett. The only thing she needs is like a stuffed toy to wear like a gun arm, and she's just gonna nerf the two of them. When
and there is a little kernel.
I love about Marlene is that because she was raised by Barrett, but also by Tifa, Marlene has the fiery spirit of Barrett with the sense of Tifa.
Yeah.
Like she like Barrett sometimes,
a little aloof.
God bless him. He's a little
Aloof.
a
He'll
little
go.
tactless, sometimes.
You know.
But Marlene is like the perfect mix of fiery persona, and she's so cute. She's this little girl, and she's got this big personality, and
Yeah.
she's so cute.
Now I'm gonna say this, and I might get myself in trouble here. I think a better analogy is the sense of Tifa and the kind of the spirit, at least in this aspect of Aerith. I say that because if Aerith were still alive, and let's say you had Aerith, Zack still alive and stuff like that, I could absolutely see Aerith being the one in Tifa's ear, in Cloud's ear, like, what's happening here? What are you doing?
Like, would literally grab the end of Tifa's ponytail and drag her in Cloud's direction.
Well, she literally does this in chapter 9 when she sees Cloud's reaction to seeing Tifa and the way how devastated he was that she wanted to run off on her own. She was like, "Oh no, you going after her?" Like, no, sir. No, sir, you are not going to Sector 7. You going after her. That's your important person. She literally said, "That's your important person, isn't it?"
Gosh. And she would.
That is Tifa. That would absolutely be Aerith. So if Aerith was still alive, when I think of Marlene in the times like that, I'm like,
she did reach in deep to get some Aerith in there, but because yes, Aerith absolutely would.
Yes.
So part of me wishes that Aerith did grab the end of Tifa's ponytail and be like, "Move, bitch, move."
Okay, do you see that man? That man jumped off a damn skyscraper for you in chapter 15. Like, go after him. Okay, stop playing around. Shoot.
Right?
Ghosts were coming after us. He grabbed you. He didn't care if I was dead or alive. Hell, go. Come on.
Aerith would have something to say. She did give Cloud a little bit of a lecture, but I think I would have appreciated if Aerith gave Tifa the kick in the pants she needed.
There's still time, honey. There's still time. I mean, we got rebirth. Now, she did encourage Tifa. She said, "Follow your heart." Now, that's a weird statement to make if you're just saying, "Hey, go help out the people on the pillar." Exactly. Because I don't think Tifa says, "I'm going to go after all." I don't think she says, "I'm going to go help them" in the English. So she's just saying, "I'm going up there," and her reply is, "Follow your heart." And then they have that little girl, that girl's moment where they hold hands. She is encouraging her, and she's just not like doing what she did to Cloud, because Cloud's a lot more stubborn. Soldier Cloud specifically.
I think she'd probably use her staff and just pop right on to Cloud. I know I ride on Aerith for chapter 8 and 9 because those were very hard to get through, at least up until you get to Wall Market. But then when she meets Tifa and immediately imprints on her, it's just like night and day, and I'm like, yes, that is the best friend. Yeah, that is the best wing woman you can have. Please, Square Enix, do not fuck this up for me. Yeah. Let me have my girl power friendship. Exactly. Do not fuck this up. I will fight you.
You are speaking my language right now, because, like I said, I mean, it was all her interactions with Tifa that were like, are they actually gonna make me actually like Aerith this time around?
Well,
is it possible? Is it possible? I see it. I see it.
You know what? You know what? And and speaking of parallels, and then we really need to be going through the rest of this. During that, no, you're good. No, you're good. This struck my eye, and I meant to mention it. When right before Tifa starts crying, she says, then she heard someone asking, "What about you? Are you okay?" That reminds me, because she's thinking about how everybody else is doing, blah blah or whatever. And Aerith, she basically sees it that Aerith's coming to her asking, "Are you okay?" And then she breaks down crying. Aerith does the same thing. Tifa wants to talk about Cloud to Aerith. She says, "Never mind him. How are you doing?" And that was a nice moment in chapter 17. She wasn't sitting there trying to talk about Cloud. She wanted to see how her friend Tifa was doing. Yeah, so
that's actually one of my favorite scenes in that chapter. Simply by virtue of, somebody else is checking in on Tifa, because and I'm actually going to take this moment, I mean, simply for the sake of balance. I know we all hate that term right now, but this is another instance of Tifa's flaws, which I'm not blinded to. It's one of the reasons why I want to wrap her in bubble wrap and protect her from everything. Everybody views her as so strong that they don't check in on her emotions. They don't check in to make sure if she's okay or not, because she's good at hiding it. So it's nice to have someone that isn't Cloud checking in on her.
Yes. I was about to say, I was like, I'm gonna take objection to that, but no, you're right. And in fact, he does it more in the Japanese. That part where in whatever he says, hey, what was up with that after she has that vision of Marlene? He actually says in a really soft voice, Tifa, are you okay? And he's trying to reach out emotionally to her. That's what the whole hug was about. And so Cloud is actively trying to reach out to her emotionally a lot.
Exactly. Like everyone pushed this idea of let's rebuild the bar. She wasn't very much or as much of an active participant in that. Mm-hmm. And then she's got Marlene. Yes, she adores this girl, but again, this is a responsibility that was once shared, and now here you go, another responsibility, and then here you go, another responsibility, and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. And everyone is just assuming that she can do this because she has done it and not realizing, can you take this extra responsibility? Yeah. Are you okay? Do you need a minute in order to do some soul searching?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that leads me to like one issue, like I said, that I do have, is that it feels like Tifa's emotional well-being, with the exception of Cloud, it seems to be almost dismissed by the other party members.
Yeah.
Because they're so used to, and that kind of leads me to kind of a perception that Tifa gives off because she is so close. She does hide so much, even in OG. Kind of looking at some of the dialogue when Tifa goes on the Highwind for the first time after the escape from Junon. And Barrett is like surprised at her because Tifa is, she's like, I'm so depressed, I'm surprised at myself. And Barrett's like, come on, Tifa, when did you become such a wimp and stuff like that? And it's like, yeah, Barrett, even Barrett did not really understand much about, Tifa's emotional weaknesses and stuff. He's so used to her being, the tough girl, the strong girl, that, he's not used to seeing her have an emotional moment of weakness. And I think that was like the first moment for a lot of the party members up to that point, where they're like, "Oh wow, Tifa is really upset about this.
Yeah,
she's really affected by this."
Exactly. But I know I brought this up previously during past instances, and then we can move forward. But I feel as if that this is another instance of Tifa not allowed to express emotions, and this is something a lot of women go through. You're not allowed to express any emotion. You have to sacrifice everything to take care of everyone else. You always have to be self-sacrificing. That is expectation of women, to be self-sacrificing, especially in the case for their man or for their child. They have to give up everything of themselves until they're, pun intended, hollow inside. So, and I feel as if that's important for Case of Tifa, episode Tifa, where you have everybody putting everything onto her back, onto her shoulders. And then when she snaps later on, it makes sense. You understand it's not just Cloud, it's everything. Everything is on her shoulders. She probably feels as if I trip, everything is going to go to hell in a handbasket. Mm-hmm. And this is just another instance of, okay, Tifa, like, Cloud is going to be the straw that breaks her back, and he's trying not to be the straw that breaks her back, because she's already got a lot on her shoulders, which will further the point as we get to that part of the book or of her chapter. Yeah. But it's very much yeah, we'll get there. Yeah,
I just kind of just to kind of wrap it up, just kind of think of the lyrics to Louisa's song from Encanto.
Don't do that to me.
That is literally Tifa's theme song. Oh, okay. Well, you'll have to look up the lyrics to Louisa's song, because that is Tifa in Case of Tifa.
Because the thing is, Luisa's song in Encanto, to this day, I cannot listen to that song without crying. I can't even hear parts of that song without crying.
As soon as I heard that song, I was like, oh my god, that's Tifa.
Well, no, I actually broke down crying when that song came on the first time, and like my mom and brother had to pause the movie to make sure I was okay, They were going to
Right.
stop the movie altogether because I cannot listen to that song without crying. To this day. Fucking asshole.
Yes,
Making me a
yes,
relatable song.
It is the best song in the movie. I don't care what anybody says, but Stitch, I'll link it to you after this, so that way
don't worry
you
about
can.
it.
Don't play it near me.
I'll watch the movie. I got Disney Plus now. I'll watch the movie.
Oh, okay.
So back to the novel. I don't know where the hell we left off.
Relevant. It's just we care a lot about Tifa.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
I'm just like I'm like, oh, we're not too far off, and then it's like we just crawl through another paragraph, and then it's another 10-minute conversation. I'm like, okay, we're never getting through this.
Hey, you know what? If
Oh,
we're
here we
gonna
go again. Okay, I'm gonna put the book down for now. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if we're gonna have a 3-hour conversation about Maiden, you got damn well I'm gonna have a nice 3-hour long conversation about this book.
Well, Tifa isn't trash, unlike Maiden, so I don't. You know, there was too much shit to unpile in Maiden. This is pretty straightforward, but yeah. So they talk about being family. Yeah, she says maybe we can call that a family. After Marlene says the thing about Tifa and Cloud could be my parents. Maybe we call it a family, and in family we stick together. If we have each other, maybe we can weather the storm and the ones to come. Now, they're not really going through a storm. It's Tifa going through a storm in her head. She's racked with guilt. I mean, every other paragraph she's talking about guilt. And then she says, so we're family, she murmured. Yep, Marlene chirped. And you too, Cloud. He said, awesome, said Cloud with conviction. He glanced at Tifa, and she gave him a tiny nod. There might still be trouble ahead, but she would stop worrying about what they were to each other, she decided. So, like, clearly there's something going on there, but now she's seeing, like, this actual family. Because I think a lot of this is, and why she eventually is happy with what they form, is she wants to feel like this is not just that we're dating, we're just sleeping with each other, we're just doing whatever. We are a family. We're a family union, and family, like she says, sticks together. She wants that, which is also why I kind of, when people say she wouldn't want a traditional marriage and blah 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 stuff like that. Not the vibe she gives me as I'm reading through this. I'm not saying marriage specifically, but she clearly cares to have that family bond, that family unit, with Cloud. With Cloud. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, she comes from a traditional background, so why wouldn't she want that that dynamic? Regardless if it's unconventional or not, it's still it's the structure that she longs for.
Mm-hmm.
She longs for that support structure that a family gives. She's tired of feeling like she's alone. She wants to have that stability in her life finally.
Yeah, exactly. That she hadn't had for half of it at this point. yeah, absolutely. And yeah, part of being a feminist is women choosing the life that they want. So if that's what she wants, that she should have that. And so several months go by. She gets a call at the bar from Cloud. He asks for a lifetime provision for the bar so that he can buy. He eventually comes home with a bike. Let's see. And then, Marlene and her neighborhood friends would look on transfixed. The side reassured Tifa, we're family and we're becoming part of this world. So now she's saying that, Cloud is making connections outside of just the family unit. He's gotten his bike that he's had a lot of people help him work on. And she's like, reassured that there's really settling a life now together.
Yeah.
So
he's laying down some roots.
Mm-hmm. And then let's say a call came in. He didn't talk
Granted,
about
I can only imagine how much money a lifetime.
I don't know. Yeah. And then he starts doing side jobs, basically delivery jobs, but he doesn't tell her initially because he's beefing up this bike. That it's basically his. I mean, this is so typical relationship stuff. Like the man's got his little toys, he's got his bike and stuff, and he's super excited.
His toy.
Yes, and he's like, why are you looking so sheepish? And he was like, sorry I didn't tell you. He finally told her that he'd been spending his extra money on this and he had been doing work on the side in order to get these things done on his bike. And she's like, tell me what, that I had this other job. Tifa burst out laughing. then he explained he felt bad for keeping it from her because it involved money. Now, because it involved money, if we're okay, it sounds like you're gonna entertain the friend thing, but like obviously these two are sharing expenses, like
finances.
Yeah, I mean, why are you gonna feel guilty? Because obviously the bills are getting paid. So why do you feel guilty about spending your own money on what you want to spend it on?
Exactly.
You know, I mean, that's only relationship stuff.
Yeah.
And
that's some spousal. That's not dating. That's marriage.
That's damn near absolutely. He'd been taking the extra income and putting it into his bike, paying for parts and upgrades, just like a little kid, Tifa thought. But then felt a pang somehow to learn that Cloud had found another world to live in, or one she wasn't a part of. At the same time, she was glad his horizons were broadening. So, and this is what I was thinking about when I always mentioned the chapter 3 thing. She's teaching them these things, how to gain friendships, how to create jobs. He actually was really the source of Strife delivery service in a way, because he started doing it before she decided to make it a formal thing. So she's teaching him these things that ultimately could lead him away from her. If he wanted to get up and go, he doesn't need her as much as he would have had she not been helping him grow up. But she loves him enough to see him possibly go one day if he's going to be better off. So.
And I feel that's important, because here you can tell that she's probably starting to get a little scared that, he might leave.
Yeah. She keeps saying that's the third, fourth time she's mentioned it. Yeah. And it's not because of anything he's doing. It's in her mind. It's just that eventually, which we're getting up to right now, he starts pulling away, and we'll get into why. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mom.
But I think this is important, though, because it does show that the reason why Cloud stays with her is not out of, he's just staying with her out of convenience, or she's just his crash pad or whatever. He's staying there because, I know. Bear with me. I'm getting to a point here.
Sorry, the bitch in me started sighing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, it's okay. My inner bitch.
Not because of Mug, but because of that dumbass take. That was why I decided.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
But it's almost like, as Nojima is writing this, he's probably he's like, okay, so we're gonna make it very clear about the reason why Cloud is with Tifa is because of an emotional bond, not because he's just staying with her out of convenience, or he's not just living with her just because. Like, there is an emotional reason why he's staying with her, because he does have a bike, he does have a form of income. He could, at any moment, if he wanted to, he could pack up his bags and go just live on the road if he wanted to. But he doesn't.
And he apparently has connections or friends outside of her, too. I don't know if he considered a friend, but he has acquaintances outside of her, so it's not... Yeah. He could easily form a friendship with somebody else. What is keeping him there? What is keeping him there?
Why you just want to take Tifa by the shoulders and... You woman?
Good Lord.
He's staying with you because he's in love with you, Tifa.
Which she knows. She was in this man's mind. I mean, but that's the thing. That's why it's important to say this is Tifa's point of view. She's feeling guilt and she's feeling these things, and she's letting panic take over her mind about why he's there and whatever. She was just simply actually ask him, not ask him when he's asleep and then change the subject when he wakes up. Like, you just... If given the opportunity, Cloud is proving it with his actions constantly. It's literally until he gets Jill stigma that he runs away out of shame. But like I said, even as we get through here, you still see tons of cute little moments between them, even though he starts to withdraw to some degree in some parts of this. Let's see. And Tifa was getting better at dealing with her guilt. Not that she forgot any of it. Maybe one day she would be punished for her crimes, but until then, she would live looking to the future rather than the past. So they turn it into a bike service, the official Strife delivery service. They say that both are booming, but one thing that happens, and this is very important. So this goes to what I was saying about why the true reason Cloud starts having all these bad memories of Zach, Aerith, and such. Just like Seven Heaven, the business boomed. In those days, getting something... Oh, wait. Hold on. Did I skip it? Turn the livers. Close the livers. Okay. Maybe I got it. Okay. Just like Seven Heaven, the business boomed. In those days, getting something to somewhere else wasn't at all easy. There was still plenty of monsters around, and roads and railways everywhere that were still broken and unrepaired. Okay. There was a lot of demand for Cloud services. Cloud had a hard time dealing with people, and yet he was helping bring people together through the things they exchanged. Tifa thought that was wonderful. Their life as a family changed a lot when the delivery service took off, but not really for the better. He was hardly ever home, except in the morning and late at night. Naturally, the three of them had fewer chances to talk. Tifa closed the bar once a week, but that didn't necessarily mean Cloud could take the same day off. So they're trying to coordinate days to be off together. Okay. Yeah. He almost never turned down a client. While she did wish he would take a day off with them now and then, she felt that was selfish and kept it to herself. She wants them to take days off to spend more time with them. But she feels selfish by asking that. And I bet in Cloud's mind, he's thinking, I'm tired, but it would be selfish of me to take days off if Tifa's working that hard and blah, blah, and like, I need to be provided. You know, he's very much like a provider type. So he overdoes it completely.
Talk to each other. Talk to each other.
And then...
they're not that hard up for money. I don't think by this point.
I doubt they are not spenders at all. I mean, outside of that bike, and then I'm sure Tifa likes her creature comforts, you know, because everything she went through. I'm sure she likes her lotions and her stuff like that. Like, plus she's in a relationship, so she likes to smell good. Yeah, she's got to have her shower and probably like expensive thread count on the bed and stuff like that. You know they gotta have it.
Exactly, but I will say his late nights probably gets in the way of their sex life. Oh,
yeah.
That's the problem right there. That I've solved what the problem was.
Like, I'm exhausted. They're both exhausted. This was sometimes he looks at
sex. That's
the
problem.
Yeah, exactly. So, Monk, were you gonna say something?
Oh, I was just making a snide comment about them having the fanciest Egyptian cotton for their bed, but
yeah, absolutely. 2 or 3 mattresses every year. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
yeah, the cot is gonna just wind up in a dumpster fire somewhere, and no one's even gonna know how it got there. I don't know what you're talking about.
So let's see. I may have missed it. If I see it again as I'm going through, I will bring it up. But there's a part where basically she says Cloud is going to all these different... She implies that Cloud's going to all these different places that seem to be dredging up the past for him. Like, as he's traveling more and more and more, certain things are dredging back up the past for him. I'm not seeing it just here yet, but it goes into... Marlene is starting to see the changes in him, like he just stares up at the sky and stuff like that. Says, I bet he's tired, but despite her reassurances about her Tifa, Marlene was an observant child, sensitive to grown-ups. Then they talk about... Now, they mentioned this being Cloud's office 3 times in this damn... It is Cloud's office, okay?
Yeah. But there's also the point where Tifa's repeating herself and Marlene snaps at them. I actually did enjoy...
Yeah, that's right here.
Mm-hmm. Marlene is starting to develop her voice, and I love baby Marlene. Can we just, like, all appreciate how adorable she is? And she's yelling at the both of them for being stupid.
Yeah.
Because she's our proxy, like you said. Just so stupid.
Yes. And this is where... So they go to clean up Cloud's office, and that's where they find the bouquet from Elmira. Tifa buries it in her mind, but she knows it's going to be an issue because, and so this is what she says. She bundled it up with the other slips if she had noticed, but inwardly she was in turmoil. Fleeing from place to place, delivering packages, Cloud was brushing up against the past. She knew his inability to protect the air still weighed heavily on him. He was trying to move past that and live for the future, but if he had to go back there to the place where she had left them forever, wouldn't sorrow and remorse come rushing back, tearing open those old wounds. Now, Tifa had gone through the same thing herself. Remember earlier in this chapter, going back to Forgotten City, that's where she fell apart, and Cloud comforted her, and she knows how it feels. And what she's saying here is he's already been brushing up against the past with all these places he's been going to make deliveries. Any little thing, Calm and all these other places. Calm is where he had to tell Elmira that she was dead. I mean, it's not all just about her. Gongaga, if he made things to Gongaga, that's going to bring up Zach.
What if he had to go to Nibelheim and see that it's a replica again?
Absolutely. So he's out there where she's in this bubble, this new world. He's constantly having to brush up against the past, and she's seeing it's affecting him. And then, so of course, your one of your dear friends that everybody on the team lost dies in your arms, and now you've got to go back there and be reminded of all that again. Yeah, it's going to, for a person like Cloud, who is already on the verge of a depressive state, that's not going to end well for him.
Honestly, and we've discussed this before. This is one of the reasons why I'm not Elmira's biggest fan.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just like, why would you send somebody that feels responsible for the death of your daughter to her gravesite? Because he's not the one that killed her.
I personally feel like there was a level of almost like a vengeful spirit from Elmira, because you can see, especially in Remake, she's not exactly Cloud's biggest fan, and so he tells Cloud that she doesn't blame him, but I think through her making Cloud take the flowers, I think there's a certain level of her, like saying, I'm gonna remind you of what you did.
Absolutely.
Basically.
That's how I took it. That's exactly how I took it. She's tied to the mafia. Like she can't find another way to get these flowers to Forgotten City. She's tied to the mafia, for God's sakes. I mean, like, what?
And the thing is just like, if Elmira, and the thing is, I think she does understand that she wanted to hurt Cloud, but it can't be, I almost don't want to think that she realized how hard it hit, that he's literally putting flowers on her grave. Like, how?
Well, I will say this for Elmira. She doesn't know everything that's going on. She doesn't know.
She doesn't. So I don't think she intended.
Her world's destroyed. She's lost her only daughter. And then she's seeing Seventh Heaven. Seventh Heaven, apparently, at least in Remake, is delivering stuff. Okay. She's just seeing them move on with their lives. No, I mean, who knows how often people are checking on her or saying hi or whatever. She may feel like they've just moved on, and then she sees an ad for Stripe delivery. So he's got himself a new job, and like, everything's just fine for y'all. I can see her in a moment of resentment doing something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Because the thing is, from what I've learned or what I've been told, I'm not a parent, so I can't speak from personal experience.
Yeah.
But when a parent loses a child, that essentially becomes their entire world. Very rarely will you ever experience a parent overcoming this, because it will always stay with them. Like, there's an old saying that we have a word for orphans, we have a word for widows, but we don't have a word for when a parent loses a child, because that fate is too cruel. It's very, so I do understand the why, but at the same time,
parents are not intended to outlive their children.
Exactly.
We are not designed to outlive our offspring.
Exactly. So I understand where Elmira is coming from. Don't get me wrong. However, with that being said, that was very much I'm going to share my pain.
Yeah.
And then we have this downward spiral.
Absolutely.
And the downward spiral is,
yeah. And so, and then it goes into Marlene telling Barrett that Cloud and Tifa aren't getting along. So this, late nights, early morning, whatever, and then they have that little spat at the bar where he says
he ratted them out so fast.
He'd rather drink alone. Then it goes into this. Tifa made every effort to talk to Cloud. When Marlene was around, she tried harder. She would attempt to keep it light and avoid anything serious. Cloud seemed puzzled at the change in Tifa, but he responded well enough and tried to meet her halfway, as if he knew what she was trying to do. So trying to make moments between them. Good, fun moments, nice moments between them because they were having a rough patch due to overworking themselves, and then he's starting to go through his bout of depression with everything he's being reminded of, whereas she's trying to get out of hers. Marlene would join in too, and Tifa started to think maybe her efforts were paying off. One morning she passed a funny story about one of her regulars. Yeah, that would drive me nuts, was Cloud's opinion. You guys are driving me nuts, shouted Marlene. Cloud and Tifa both stared at her. You told the same story before, and Cloud said the same thing. So now they're getting almost into this married routine where they just start. But it's also, you see, it's like a going through the motions type deal too. Like we're starting to repeat the same stuff to each other. But that's definitely a lot of this is like married couple coded. It really is. Like even just when you go to marriage counseling, if they say that you're going through tough times, try to make fun times, try to have laughs with each other, try to, put in that extra effort to do what you did in the beginning type deal. They'll tell you that in marriage counseling. So I almost see this as like their little version of it. And then that's when the infamous "Do you love me?" happens here. So
yeah, she snuck into his room, hovered over him as he slept.
Yes, absolutely. Now, Jedi. Now, important is I definitely want to point this out if nothing else. Jedi Jenna says later. So in this part, it actually just basically implies that Tifa's just there. And here it says later she sat next to Cloud as he slept and asked the questions she dared not ask when he was awake. So you imagine she sits in the bed and he's asleep, and she's you've seen this in movies and stuff. Somebody's talking to somebody who's asleep, or like in a hospital bed, and they have things that they want to say to them. What Jedi was saying is that the Japanese actually just implies that Tifa's just there and starts talking to him, meaning she's just like clearly showing they are in the same bed. Because one reason why this comes up is because earlier in the novel it says that Marlene sleeps in Tifa's bed, but this is while the bar is being built. This is in the very beginning. Now, as we know, Marlene and Denzel have their own bed, and he's coming up very shortly. So the arrangements have changed. Yeah. And remember, Barrett is no longer there and stuff like that. So the bed arrangements have changed. So the English to me is clear enough, but the Japanese seems to be clear that they don't even bring up the sat beside. They're just like, she's there and decides to start talking to him.
Yeah, so basically, like, Tifa's probably the big spoon that night, sits up, and then realizes, or has this...
She can't sleep type thing. Yeah, because they say it's late at night. Yeah, or later she... Yeah, so...
Yeah,
she says...
brain is keeping her awake. Should probably take a melatonin or two.
Mm-hmm. And she says, we're okay, aren't we? Of course, there was no answer. Only sound of his slow, even breathing. Was the fact that he slept here enough, did that alone make them a family? Do you love me? Suddenly his eyes opened and looked at her groggily. Hey, Cloud, do you love Marlene? Yeah, I just don't know how to act around her sometimes. And this is definitely some parallel to him and Tifa too. I don't know how to act around her sometimes, to me.
Well, I think that's exactly it though. It's even though he was asleep, he still answered her question. So, yeah, some people can say, oh, he was awake the whole time.
He wasn't.
Or you can say that he was in a dead sleep. The answer is the same. He's like, yes, I do love her. I do love you. I just don't know how to behave. Mm-hmm. So regardless of whether or not he's in a dead sleep because he feels safe, or if he's in his light soldier sleep because he doesn't sleep, he's still answering the question.
Mm-hmm. And then she said, but we've been together for a long time. I mean, this is obviously a double entendre for...
Yeah.
Cloudy versus his relationship with Marlene. Maybe I just need more than time, or maybe I need more than just time. Meaning he needs to get over his past, needs to go, forgiveness, blah blah.
Which is fair.
And then she says, "And what about you and me?" Cloud didn't answer, and when we put it like that, that would also explain why he doesn't answer. He's like, I've already answered the question, but like, I don't know what else more to say. I've already told you.
Yeah. Now he just doesn't know how to say it because he's not good with words.
No.
Any thoughts do not make it to be his outie thoughts.
He's accidentally romantic sometimes, like the "because I have you" thing, but he isn't like trying to be Casanova there. It's just sometimes the romance spills out of him. Yeah.
He's not a poet. And here's the thing. It's so funny to me because we've already seen an example of this under the highway. I mean, he's there. He wants to confess his feelings for Tifa, but he can't do it in words, so he has to show her.
Yeah.
And that's the same sort of incidents in case of Tifa. You know, he's showing that he loves his family through his actions, through his hard work, through putting in that extra time, doing everything he can for his family in his own way.
Absolutely.
Because he can't verbalize it, so he shows it through his actions.
Absolutely. And what has he been doing this whole time? Yeah, okay, they haven't had as much time to go, but he's working his ass off. He's bringing all that money back home to them. You know what I'm saying? And then we'll see it in the next page. So they brought Denzel. Oh, let me finish this part though. Sorry. Oh, and what about you and me? Cloud didn't answer. Sorry. Said Tifa, I don't know why I'm asking these things. She doesn't know why she asking. She knows damn well this man is in love with her. Don't be sorry. It's my problem. Cloud shut his eyes again. We could make it ours. Tifa waited for him to say something, but he never answered. So, yeah, this is their lowest point in the novel. And it does actually start to go up from there for me. But I'm watching this new series, and they started talking about this dog, and the way they were conveying their feelings about each other was talking about how the dog felt. You also see this type of thing. So not calling Marlene a dog, obviously, but I'm saying that may have been one way they were able to exchange what they were thinking about each other or about their relationship in the moment without directly addressing it.
Yeah.
Marlene is the proxy. Marlene is treated as the proxy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because and there's still a level of shyness because both of these two characters are naturally shy, and even though they're in a living situation now, that's still not going to change the fact that they still struggle with these kind of communication and these very delicate situations, very delicate, very deeply emotional conversations. So it's easier for them to convey it by, involving Marlene into the dynamic.
Exactly. Absolutely right. So, Tifa, so Cloud finds Denzel. Tifa's apprehensive naturally because they have Marlene and she's running a bar, and they realize that geostigma is just such a huge stigma.
Yeah.
But
okay, we were all coming out of a panini. I'm using very specific words to not get you demonetized. But they're having their own panini, just as we've just come out of.
Yeah.
So and yeah, once you get through this excerpt, I have there's an actual real world comparison that kind of, when you look through On the Way to a Smile, it gives you a whole different understanding of Denzel's introduction and Cloud's ripping it off like a Band-Aid, I'm a dip kind of mentality, especially given the panini that we just came out of.
Yeah, because you're going to have to explain that to me, because I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Panini, I don't know what you lost me entirely, but you can say your piece after this.
We're talking, she's using a proxy word to describe a word used for a sickness that covers the whole world, Stitch.
Oh, they banned that?
Yeah, YouTube will demonetize if you use the actual word.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very sensitive subject, so we have to be careful when discussing that kind of stuff. But I will say this too, is that there is a lot of, interestingly enough, disinformation around this, fictional illness.
Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate it. Go ahead.
He
typed it in the chat. I'm like, yeah, that's gonna help. Thank you, Bobby. Go ahead. All right, y'all can stop repeating it. All right, thank you.
Yeah. So, but there's a lot of people who think that it's contagious.
Yeah.
And so, not realizing what it is that they're dealing with, and so there's a certain risk to bringing Denzel into the bar, and it would cause other issues as well. But I'll let us continue on, because I imagine we'll touch more upon that when we get to that part.
Yeah, I'm right here. So he mentions to Tifa, he's like, he has geostigma. Oh, okay, I can say that. Oh, now y'all got me scared to say anything. Yeah. Okay. Woo. All right. Woo. Okay.
I'm gonna do what I can to protect you.
And he says it isn't contagious. And she sees that he's trying to squelch her fears before she can even verbalize them because he knows her. So she's like, yeah, bring him home. And then he says, get somebody to watch Marlene. Again, he's thinking what she's thinking before she's thinking it. So they show that even in this time where their relationship is fractured, they still are on, in a lot of ways, they're still on the same page. They still have that bond.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of hot dad mode activated with Cloud. I mean, like,
yeah,
when he's holding Denzel's little hand and
yeah, and you talk about it. You talk about it in the movie.
Dad mode activated. Woof.
And then
Dilf Cloud.
Dilf Cloud. Yep, Dilf Cloud. It's a title.
Yes, and then and then it says I was a part of that. So Denzel lost his parents to destruction of Sector 7. Sector 7 was destroyed as retaliation against Avalanche. And our portion of Denzel, I'm afraid, is going to be like 5 minutes because we going to finish the rest of this damn Tifa chapter if it kills me. Okay. I'm literally 3 pages away from the end. Okay. And then it says, so I have to raise this boy as best as I can. Denzel only found Cloud so that he could come to me. This is interesting because, of course, later, Cloud has the same thought that Denzel came to him as a means of atonement. Tifa feels the exact same way. And then Tifa links those two. So she explained to Cloud she wanted Denzel to stay as part of their family. Cloud simply nodded quietly, and Marlene was thrilled. So Denzel kept saying he'd only be there for a short time, but eventually he just globs on the Cloud. Business starts to decline, but they don't really care. And, you know, they're not going to get rid of Denzel.
No, that's their son.
Yeah. Let me see. There were a few new customers. The adults knew why, but of course they said nothing. And taking Tifa's and Cloud's cue, neither did Marlene. And then this is where it talks about late at night that Cloud would teach, or at night. Basically, Cloud started coming home a little earlier so that he could spend more time with his family. Typically, Cloud would be out most of the day. The hours after he got home were important to Denzel. So talking about how much Denzel glopped onto him immediately. And showing Tifa got jealous because he would tell her stuff. Denzel would tell Cloud stuff, and then Cloud would come and like tell her everything that Denzel told. And she's like, well, why did he just tell me directly? Like she almost can't even enjoy the moment because even though she's happy that Cloud is sharing that with her.
But this is actually something that parents go through. Like,
and that's what just real quick. That's what I was gonna say. Like the person in the bar says, well, that's just typical family dynamics. Like they're gonna have favorites. The boy's gonna glob onto the dad and blah blah. You know, like that. You can expect that. So she actually, even though it annoys her that he doesn't open up to her as much as he opens up to Cloud, she also learns to appreciate that. No, we're a real family. So, and this is near the end, right before he leaves. So, like their trajectory as far as relationship is growing to a better place. It says that every time she comes to the table to talk to them, as he's teaching them to read and write, they all greet her with smiles and all that. It's really sweet. You see this really cute family unit. Solid family unit right before the end. So Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, I remember my mom telling me the story how as a baby I was a daddy's girl. I was I had him wrapped around my pinky. But mom, who was going through like postpartum depression or something, she's like, I'm a terrible mother. She doesn't like me because I globbed onto my dad. And you tell I'm a daddy's girl, and I got daddy issues. Whole other thing. But she's thinking, oh, I'm a failure as a mother. She likes him more than me. And it's a very common trope. Hell, I've even seen previews for, I don't remember what the movie was called. It was like Stepchildren or something like that, where it's a couple that adopts these children, these siblings. And he does something for the kids. And she's like, I want some of that, and ditches him to go try and do something for the kids. It's it's a very common... Parents want to be, they have almost this competitive nature where it's like, I want to be my child's favorite.
Yeah.
And they fight about it. But the parents can be divorced, they can be together, they can be adopted parents, they can, all of the above. They're going to want to be their child's favorite. And I have seen it time and time again where there's almost this competitive edge of, I will be the favorite, damn it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll have parents trying to buy their child's love.
Yeah.
And here's, I just want to just throw this in here real quick about the whole purpose behind Denzel as a character is because he is there to be like the last link in the chain and the connector between Cloud and Tifa. Because with Marlene, it's a little bit more complex because she already has a father figure in Barrett, and so it's a little bit more complicated than that. But when Denzel is added into the picture, Denzel is Cloud and Tifa's, and Cloud and Tifa's alone. Like, that's their kid, and so that's when you really start to see their family life improve, because now Cloud and Tifa have a child, basically a child of their own at this point now. So it changes things in that way. And Cloud finally has a child that he can call his own, that he doesn't have to share with Barrett, basically.
Not to make it sound bad, but yeah, you naturally, I mean, this is the dynamic that, even a lot of adoptive parents have. You still have the parent who sometimes would like to have a special connection as well to the child that isn't, so, and because Cloud and Tifa both see this kid as well as part of their redemption, their individual redemption stories, and their, so he holds a special meaning, even though they love both of them, obviously.
But for example, with like Monk was mentioning, with Marlene, she's kind of a loner child when you think about it, because Barrett's eventually going to come back. Marlene isn't a hot potato that's passed back and forth. She's gonna go back to Barrett once he's done and is safely able to parent again. So she's not going to be a permanent fixture in their home as much as they adore her. So yes, they view her as their daughter, but at the same time, she's also Barrett's daughter. And I feel bad for the the teachers that have to look at this family chart for this little girl, because that must be confusing as all fuck. But it's still very much she's ours, but she's not just ours. We have to share her. And as the rest of Avalanche start trickling in, she's not just their kid, she's all of Avalanche's child. Whereas Denzel is very much the embodiment of Cloud and Tifa's atonement for their part to play in the fall of Sector 7 and the fall of Midgard.
I mean, good lord, even his parents are freaking coded for...
I was so... I'm just gonna whine just for like half a minute of it, because when I was playing through Remake and you go up to plate side of Sector 7, I was like, this would have been the perfect opportunity for a Denzel Easter egg. Why didn't they put one?
Well, because
I was so mad. I actually scoured that plate side looking for anything related to Denzel, and when there wasn't anything, I was fuming. I was like, why?
I did also look for Denzel. I tried to find
Give me my cloudy son. Where's my cloudy son?
But you never... Oh yeah, you do go to Sector 7 top plate. Yeah, that's true. That's where Jesse's parents are. Yeah. Y'all are hilarious.
I was like, wasted opportunity, Square. How dare you?
Watch him get added later.
Yeah, I think it'll be something around Reeves' mom. I think is what we'll see Reeves' mom's demise or whatever. But yeah, that's his parent for anybody who hasn't seen them. And like the eye colors are switched, but that's pretty much Tifa. Like, he's very much cloudy coded. Despite what some think. I mean, I have seen some hilarious fan arts trying to... don't even get me started on that. Because...
We'll be here for the next hour.
Yeah, because it's just crazy to me that they claim they aren't family, but y'all make fan art of the exact same damn thing and just put everything in it, and suddenly it's a family. It's like, come on, like, just...
Get real.
Salty as hell. Anyway, all right. I did my small tangent. So, anyway, last thing I'm bringing up, whatever else I missed up, too bad. Last thing is, Tifa wondered if the children, okay, so she said that Cloud, when asked about different locations, he gives short answers, and she'd elaborate more, and then Denzel would ask Cloud, was she right? And this is where she starts to feel like, yeah, that's normal, healthy stuff. Like, Denzel's feeling comfortable in the family, and anyway. So, Cloud was cutting back on his workload and making more time for the kids in the evenings. And the silly little everyday conversations they used to have were starting to return. So things are looking up. This is why Tifa is, like I said, in a state of shock almost in the beginning of the thing, because things really were looking up for their family. And it says, so did you work out that problem? Tifa wondered. What problem? Your problem. Oh, it's okay if you don't want to talk about it. No, I do. It's just, I don't know if I can explain it right. I haven't worked it out. I mean, there's no way to work it out. Once someone's gone, there's nothing anyone can do, right? Tifa nodded. But now I've got another chance to save a life, and I'm thinking maybe it's possible even for me. Denzel? Yeah. So, talking about, of course, trying to hear. We'll break this down. Do you remember the day you brought Denzel home? Sure. It sounded to me like you made up your mind to bring him in whether I liked it or not. No, Cloud looked like a child who knew a scolding was inevitable. Just tell me. I'll hear you out first before I decide whether I'm mad. Cloud nodded. I found Denzel on the ground outside Air's church, and I thought she must have led him to me. You were at the church. I didn't mean to keep it from you, but you did. I'm sorry. Why? I never told you not to, but next time I'm going with you. Okay. But Cloud, you're wrong. He gave her an uncertain look. Everything lead Denzel to you. I know, it's just how I felt is all. That's not what I mean. She led Denzel to us, to our family. Cloud held her gaze, then he smiled. So, and then it says only a few days after that he was gone, she thought she'd been promised a future when that smile, did I imagine that promise? So, she kissed the children sleep and went to Cloud's office. Third time this damn place is called an office. It's not his bedroom. She brushed a thin layer of dust from the photo of them all together. Then she picked up the phone and dialed. It rang several times, but it went to voicemail. So at this point, Cloud, when it says only a few days later, he had left. He has developed geostigma. Obviously can't stick around too long because she's going to notice. She's going to notice if he has geostigma.
Every part of his body,
she's
going to notice.
So he had to go. Oh, no, I can't do it tonight, Tifa. We got to get on.
Sorry, you're going to have to ride your chocobo some other time. Not tonight.
Yes. Absolutely. So yeah, they are really on the up and up right before this and during this conversation. So we can break this down and y'all can give me your thoughts. And so she has to be worked out his problem. He says, once someone's gone, there's nothing anyone could do, right? But now I've got another chance to save a life. He's equating saving. Let's say he's just talking about Aerith. He's equating saving Aerith's life to saving Denzel's life. He's just equating two lives, one life that he could have saved and lost, another life that he could save and may lose. He's not. So even within this passage, which Claire's love to pretend that means that he's having this whole romantic, I miss my lover. I've been living with you for 2 years, but I want to tell you about how I miss my lover who I can never love you over, and I know you're in love with me because I'm too in love with this woman I knew 3 almost 6. When I knew 3 weeks, that is obviously what's going on here. He's saying, I couldn't save that life, I couldn't save Zach's life, but I could save this life. And then I think the reason he doesn't bring up the church is because, like I said, she knows he's dwelling in the past. Part of dwelling in the past is going to that church. And then, as I said, and that's why I was tying it to those things that I mentioned earlier. Going to these different places are reminding him of his regrets in life, things he's lost in life, people he's lost in life. So he feels good. He wasn't keeping it from her, but she didn't ask, and he wasn't gonna tell. It was that type of thing. And
very much so.
And Tifa clearly is not thinking he's up to some rendezvous with a ghost or something, because she says, why? I never told you not to go to the church. But next time I'm going with you. She wants to go with him. Yeah. Aerith is somebody she lost too. And that's why she says she led Denzel to us, to our family. She ain't like Aerith don't know he's living with her. What kind of...
She knows what's up.
What kind of bitch? What kind kind of bitch would Aerith have to be? Hey, this is our love child. I know Tifa's the one there actually making all the money to support this child. She's got the clothes and bathe him and all that. It's really our lover's child. But I'm such a bitch. I'm gonna send this kid just to you, our love child, and make Tifa raise it, even though you never gonna return her.
What kind of fucked up is that?
I don't know what kind of logic goes on up there, but that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. So
funny, you know what's so funny is that they'll sit there and they'll make these big elaborate headcanons about how Denzel is a cleric love child, and then they turn around and romanticize Cloud leaving his family, including said love child, so he can go be with Aerith.
Oh my god.
Get real.
Like, get real. Yeah, this is the cleric love child. Okay, alright. Well, whatever you want to say about it. Okay. Whatever.
Right,
yeah. Yeah, blonde guy, dark brown woman, dark brown hair woman. Red and blue eyes, but of course, yes, cleric love child, we know. All right.
Oh,
anyway.
And just one last thing, one last point I want to raise is that, you know how we were talking earlier about how, you know, Denzel is like close to Cloud and stuff and doesn't really quite open up to Tifa. There is one positive to when Cloud left, is that it allowed Tifa and Denzel to build up their bond.
Mm-hmm. Because
without Cloud there, then Denzel clings on to Tifa, and then you see how strong that bond becomes by the time.
He's the man of the house.
Mm-hmm.
He had to become the man of the house, and it was so cute, watching like the battle between, when they're in the town square.
Yeah.
And little Denzel goes, son of a bitch, and he runs after the monsters and stuff.
Him and Cloud, I'm telling you, him and Cloud got a fucking gene that they share, because when Cloud saw Tifa injured, he was like, oh hell to the nah, and he went in there and took care of Sephiroth. And when Denzel saw her injured on the ground, he lost his mind and he just went blind. He was ready to go.
Fighting Bahamut, and I'm just looking at him like,
they were not playing. Yeah, they were not playing around when it comes to Tifa at all.
Yeah, it was so cute because it's like he really is like a miniature version of Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
and then you have Barrett come in, and in case there was any doubt at all as to what Tifa's role is in this, Barrett turns to Denzel and says, "You go to your mom."
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I remember that. I love that so much.
Absolutely. Yes. Red Flare says, what is the correlation between Denzel and Aerith? That they both knew Cloud, and that's it. There is no correlation. Never met each other. Nothing. There's no correlation between them.
No, there really isn't. The only correlation is what Cloud and Tifa give him. And again, this is because Denzel is their redemption. He's the life that they feel as if they have to nurture, because it's not just Aerith and Zack that were lost. It's also all of Sector 7 that they still kind of blame themselves for, because Shinra wouldn't have done that if Avalanche wasn't there. Yeah. So they're taking responsibility, even though they're not the ones that push the button.
Exactly. And even though like they do see this as part of a way to redeem themselves, they love that kid to death. I mean, you can tell like he's still sick right here. He is full of geostigma. He's being controlled by, and this is very much a parallel to Cloud and Midil, because he's being controlled by a Sephiroth clone right now, out of his mind. And on top of that, he's got this sickly disease pouring off of his face and all this. And Tifa don't give a damn. She's like, this is my baby. The way Tifa jumps off that bike to get the Denzel before the damn bike stops. I mean, that is some motherly love right there. Okay, I would have been like,
Mama is amazing.
Absolutely. I would have been like, Cloud, can you stop this bike before I get off of But she was like, nah, I'm jumping off. She ride or die for real.
Exactly. And it's very much mama's coming.
Yes.
And I feel as if like a lot of this we could feasibly have a reaction to Advent Children after having read all of this, because this is very much we see Tifa's priorities shift when Denzel comes in, because again, while Marlene is their child, she's not just their child. Mm-hmm. So yes, Mama Bear instincts do react for Marlene, but it's more intense with Denzel because a switch flipped and that this is her child.
And he's dying. I mean, exactly. You know what I mean? Like,
this is her baby.
So
and
it's like like you see your wounded child is going to have a different reaction than if your child's fine and just, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, moms and grandmothers are freaking lifting up cars off of their kids in an act of adrenaline. Can you imagine what a martial artist like Tifa, however is?
I would say it's like, because I know aunties are going to see this and like, oh, they're saying that they love Denzel more than Marlene. It is more like if you have a kid with cancer and you have a kid that doesn't, that kid with cancer is going to, that's essentially what Denzel has, is an aggressive form of cancer. They are going to, he requires a special attention, a special care. That's not the same as not loving all your kids, because one requires special attention. And also seeing him as a redemption is not a bad thing, because I guarantee they'll say, oh, see, they're only doing it for selfish purposes, just like Cloud selfishly hugged Tifa in the resolution scene. Okay, whatever.
This actually feeds into
what I was going to say is Barrett also sees Marlene as part of his redemption story. So is he a bad father? Because I mean, if you love the kid, you love the kid. Why you feel the kid came into your life? That's just like a fate thing. That's not that's about fate. That's not necessarily about how much you love a kid or not. Yeah. So
exactly.
Just want to throw that out there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you're not wrong. But another point that I wanted to bring out, especially given the current world situation that we've all been in, like as Roll on the Floor put it, the big sickie was he put. It was a hyper contagious disease, for example, and we had people that were in the medical field that were sleeping in tents to keep their family from getting infected. We have doctors and nurses that literally are rewriting their wills because they know we don't know how to treat the disease, so they're actively like, okay, I might catch it and die because we're reusing PPE and what have you. So it can also apply to Cloud, who was actively reading medical journals and what have you to treat Denzel, only to catch it himself. So as somebody that is possibly or potentially contagious, like, yes, he realized that there's no cure. Yes, he realized that it's not, or it's stated either here or in one of the other episodes that geostigma targets the emotionally weak. So,
which Cloud has always been.
Exactly. And just like depression will cling on to the things that perpetuate the depression. So your brain will continue to do the depression thing, and it's only going to continue feeding into itself. It becomes a vicious cycle, so to speak.
Yeah.
So of course Cloud is going to vacate the premises because, one, he doesn't know. I mean, yes, he holds Tifa in high regard, but he's also aware that she's struggling herself. What if he's the one that's going to give Tifa geostigma?
I mean, that certainly could be a factor. Yeah.
So it's just, and honestly, like, it took everything happening and then rereading, I'm just like, it's not that hard that this could feasibly be one of the possible reasons, or in addition to a lot of his reasons as to why he left the way he did. Yeah. Because one, she's not going to make her watch him die. And she's already watching their baby die.
Girl, and this drives me crazy. This is why I have a problem with people who just obsess over 3 or 4 weeks of his life and don't see the full picture. This is a pattern with Cloud, especially with Tifa. The mountain incident, he felt ashamed because she almost died and he couldn't protect her. He ends up taking all the blame for it by himself and excluding himself. He runs away. When it comes to when he realizes his feelings for Tifa are just growing and growing and he wants to be with her, instead of just asking her out on a date and saying, hey, let's date, he says, hey, I'm running away to another city so that I can become a soldier. I'm not going to tell you that I'm really doing it for you. Just letting you know. And then I'll make this promise to you, of course, that you asked. Then with the Nibelheim incident. Now, you're only 16. Did you have to become a soldier that quickly? I mean, you still got time. But no, he can't just tell her, I'm ashamed that I haven't made it. I've got to now I got to literally hide myself now.
Exactly.
And then at the train station, when he sees her and he realizes he still has not done what he said he was going to do, he recreates a whole other version of himself, lying to even himself about the truth, so that he could be so he could keep that promise to in his mind, be that thing that he thought Tifa always wanted. And so this is just another thing. Cloud he gets ashamed over something, or he gets scared and he runs, and that has always been his problem. It has nothing to do with Aerith. Like, for God's sakes, pay attention to the story. It ain't that deep.
She's mentioned a couple times, but it's not this earth-shattering thing.
No.
Yes, they're all grieving her loss, but they're also moving on with their lives. You can be sad that someone's gone, but still start walking forward.
And he sees Denzel, who he thinks Aerith has brought to him, and then when Tifa says she brought him to us, he gazes at her and smiles. Like, he's like, he's happy in that moment that she feels the same way.
And here's the thing too, is that he didn't even ask Tifa before he brought Denzel there. I mean, if you hear his dialogue when he first meets Denzel, he says, "I'm taking you home, kid." Mm-hmm. So, like, he had already made the decision he was going to take this quote-unquote Clarith love child home to Tifa. So,
I brought you a baby.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, look what the stork brought us, Tifa.
Yeah, I brought you a baby.
Without
wait,
no, that
medical risk.
Well, that is wrong. That is wrong, though. Sorry, that does need a small correction, though. At least in English, she says Tifa said take you home. But you are right. Yeah, but you are right that, I mean, Tifa said herself just now, it seemed he already made up his mind. He's just calling her to confirm, like, hey, I'm bringing him home. But I think the reason is not just that he already knows Tifa, so he's thinking of it on the fly. I think he's already thought in his mind, how am I going to convince Tifa for us to take this kid home? Because I know he has geostigma, and this is a huge risk to us. It's a huge risk to her business, our business, you know what I'm saying? He's thinking through all of this, like, he knows that this kid needs them, but he's not going to do anything that's going to come in between him and Tifa either when it comes to this, you know what I mean? Like, he's trying to figure out a way for this to end well for everybody. So he's thinking this stuff in advance. What am I going to tell Tifa to convince her that we can bring him home safely? So it really was a wonderful read. Once I was able to compare it with the ludicrous version that that some people in this fandom try to spin this as, especially the subset. Yeah, especially after Denzel comes, you really do see a shift in everybody's behavior. Cloud's behavior. Tifa stops dwelling on things so much. They're spending more family time together. The kids are happy. It is a relationship that is on the mend, and then tragedy strikes. And this is what makes Cloudy, when we say Cloudy is a star, what the hell am I trying to say? A star-crossed. Yeah, they have star-crossed elements, because geostigma, Cloud himself was happy and feeling better and ready to move forward, and they were all growing closer. Then he's dying. It's a lot of it is also outside elements that get into the way. Hojo kidnapping him, Sephiroth almost killing both of them, and snapping in general, Shinra and all this other stuff, Sephiroth for the third time here. There's outside elements that come in between them constantly. Yeah. So, but I think it's all resolved because they seem perfectly happy in their service. And as we said, like last thing we're gonna mention. Good Lord, 3.5 hours in, or 3 hours and 15 minutes in. I'm just gonna briefly say what this is. So, case of Denzel. Oh well, any last words, because I don't want to rush case of Tifa. We took a long time with it, and it was worth it, like y'all said, because it was absolutely worth it. So let's give our last thoughts on case of Tifa. Overall, I gave mine. Monk, you go ahead and go first.
I would just say that, I love this novel, even though it is very bittersweet, because it is a dark story, but it kind of has to, because it leads into the conflict of Advent children. So it can't really end on a high note like most stories do, because its conclusion is the main conflict of the film.
Mm-hmm.
You don't. So in order to experience the happy ending, you have to go and watch the movie and see how everything is resolved in the end. That being said, it is a nice window into the nature of Cloud and Tifa's relationship, and it really does strengthen, it's nice to see them, how they interact outside of, just going on this crazy world, cross worlds trek to save the world and stuff like that. Like, this is just a slice of life kind of thing, showing them how they're building their lives up and stuff. And it's very steeped in realism, for something that happens in a fantasy world, with chocobos and giant snakes and crazy psychopathic, guys with god complexes that want to summon giant meteors. This is actually a very realistic take on the effects of PTSD and guilt, and particularly survivor's guilt on the part of both Cloud and Tifa. And it shows just how strong, really, regardless of whatever problems they have, it shows their dedication to each other, because of everything that they go through, they still try their best to make everything work. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And it just amazes me how people will try and twist this and try to say this proves that Cloud and Tifa aren't a thing, when it is the exact opposite. I mean, this book alone it just backs up everything that we've said. Mm-hmm. Everything that we've said.
Yeah, and it is a natural, like the ending of Having Children is a natural conclusion to what you see here, because they have worked through a lot of it, and then Cloud kind of slumps back in a deep way into his depression after having children. After he gets the jail stigma, because he's like, damn, like I thought I had it, and again I screwed this whole starting over thing up, and but yeah. And by the way, speaking of, real quick before we let Rhea finish, if I can get my hands on Case of Denzel for us to watch, I do want to watch that over the weekend, since we doing Case of Denzel. Yeah, I'm trying to do the movies in between all this, and once we're done with On the Way to a Smile, we are going to watch Having Children in the Discord. So just a heads up on that. We're going to have a couple movie nights coming up. We'll throw Last Order in there somewhere too, and Reminiscence. So okay. All right, go ahead, Rhea. Yeah, Mom.
What I was going to say with regards to On the Way to a Smile, it's like Monk said, it's so steeped in realism, and every time we read it, the older we get and more into ourselves that we get, it's just we can relate more and more and more to the tale that's being told. Because when we first played Final Fantasy, a lot of us were children. We didn't know better. We had Disney telling us that happily ever after was going to happen, and we didn't see what happily ever after actually was. We didn't see that it was actual work. And if you truly love somebody, sometimes that's not enough. You have to put in the effort. And life doesn't always go your way. And I feel as if it's important to have this, even in our heroes that deserve the happy ending. They deserve their slice of life. And I just feel that it is a beautiful telling, even in the dark spots. Because we get to catch glimpses of the flaws that are very easy to miss behind their radiant smiles. Because when Cloud and Tifa smile, you just go blind because they're so pretty. But we get to see the I'm hurting. And we get to see what happens when even those that truly love each other can miss each other. Or sometimes you have to change your priorities on a pivot. And I just think that it's beautifully told and beautifully said. And it's a good thing. It is a good thing. And basically it just further hammers in that CoD is canon. And in addition to that, it's a long-term, probably never going to end kind of relationship. It's not a trauma bond. It's an actual romantic bond that they are each other's partner. And I just think that's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm having a bit of a family situation, so I am definitely going to have to go. But just want to say real quick, basically Denzel's. It's 4 years later. It's set in Johnny's bar. You know who Johnny is. Everybody knows who Johnny is. Yeah. and Denzel comes in. Reeve eventually comes in. I don't even remember the exact reason why, but he wants to hear.
Well, Denzel I think wants to join the WRO.
Yeah.
So he's basically having a job interview.
Yeah, he wants to join WRO. So this is 4 years after Meteor Fall, which means it's a year after Dirge of Cerberus happens. So I think that's right. Yeah. So anyway, and then, yeah, he basically tells him the whole story of what happened to him, how his parents died, which, you know, they died in Sector 7. His mom went back to help other people, and then the dad went to go help other people, to help the mom, and they both ended up dying. He ends up in Sector 5, living with a woman named, what was her name? Ruby, I think.
Yeah.
And
my brain kept changing it to Ruby, though.
Yeah. And then she ends up dying during Meteor Fall. And then basically the rest of Denzel's tale is just like he's in a big group of people and everybody dies eventually of geostigma, or I assume all of geostigma or whatever else, except for him and one other kid who they fall out and he leaves. And then it's revealed that Ruby is Reeve's mom, and that's the reason he wanted to hear the story. But because he was never going to recruit him in the first place, he was like, yeah, by the way, kid, we don't recruit kids anymore. And then it's mentioned that, you know, the people he has left are Cloud, Tifa, and Marlene. So a year after Dirge of Cerberus, these three are still, at the very least, I mean, he's still in with Cloud and Tifa, and Marlene at the very least is in the picture. If she's not still with Baird, she's still with them. So
yeah,
I don't know if y'all had any takeaways from that. Just make them quick because I really gotta go.
For the most part, no. Kind of like how we brushed up on with Aerith's story and Trace of Two Past. There was a lot of names being thrown at you, a lot of exposition. I do appreciate that we get a little bit of Reeve's story in this, because Reeve is, even though he's Kate Sith, he's still very much a tertiary character within the story.
Yeah.
Because we know he exists. He's just there in the distance. So it's something that I appreciated, and it gives you a little bit more into Denzel's character, because we only really get to see his spunk. We get to see his spunky, because I know you brought up how he's like Cloud and Medeal, but I feel as if he's more like 16-year-old Cloud stabbing Sephiroth. He's all spunk. I love this kid, but it's nice to see the other facets of his personality, because he wants to help his parents, and that's just so cute. And that's pretty much all I got. That's just, Denzel is adorable. I must protect the cinnamon roll.
All right. Sorry, like shit was happening outside my door. Okay. Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's pretty much what I got out of it. And by the way, again, this is Rhea Alexander's. Catch her on Twitter. Catch her on Twitch. All of that.
Yeah.
And then go ahead, Monk.
Oh, I was just gonna say I agree with Rhea. I don't want to keep you too long because I know you got to go. But yes, I basically everything Rhea said.
Yep, I was saying I'm keeping the Twitch chat going. But yeah, no, it's just there wasn't a lot of impact within Denzel's story, at least as far as his episode. The animation, whole different ball game. But again, it's very much his story was just a lot of exposition, kind of filler-y, which I hate saying because I love that kid, which not a lot of people like him for reasons beyond my understanding.
Whew. Sorry, back.
But yeah, I feel as if you get more of Denzel's story through the animation as compared to the novels, which acts as a bridge. But
well, yeah. I will say that when I first watched Advent Children when I was much younger, I didn't like Denzel because I was like confused as like, who is this kid and why is he taking up so much of my screen time? I want to see, the other characters. It wasn't until I got older and I, of course I read Case of Denzel and Case of Tifa that I really began to appreciate him as a character. And now I love him. So
cinnamon roll must protect.
Yes.
I love that Brett. He's too cute.
All right, and that is Tifa the Monk, of course. And like I said, Monk will put you up a graphic somewhere. I'll figure it out. But yeah, I'm sorry, emergency, so I really got to go. But I had fun. It definitely was fun. It was long as hell, but it was fun. We had a lot to say. I had a whole lot to say at the beginning, so.
Yeah. Well, it can also be said that Case of Tifa is the prequel to Advent Children.
Absolutely.
Like,
it most certainly is. Oh yeah, it most certainly is.
Yeah, all the other episodes you can just chisel off, and you still wouldn't lose much in the story because it is pretty much the prequel.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah, it was worth diving into for sure, and I had a lot of fun making fun of aunties as usual.
Oh, targets. They're such targets.
Absolutely. All right, I've got to go. I will see y'all later. Thank you to everybody who joined the stream. We will have our next book club, of course, next Tifa Tuesday, and we will be going over Case of Barrett and Case of Nanaki. And then Black 2 and White 2. So,
yeah.
Awesome. All right, thanks everybody. See y'all later.